Stand up! And I got an echo on. I don't know why. Maybe I have a YouTube chat on. But regardless, New York Giant fans really excited. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to everybody. Obviously, Christmas Eve tomorrow, Christmas the day after that. But all I've been thinking about is the game tomorrow. And the New York Giants actually have an opportunity, if a couple things break their way, to make the playoffs for the first time since 2016. But ultra excited about tomorrow's matchup. Wanted to get a guy on that's never – I don't think he's been on my channel. I've worked with him on
No,
other channels.
first time, long time.
First time Tommy's actually appeared on the channel. Great guy. He's got a big Twitter following. He's on Patricia Traina's platform as well. Tommy's Takes. Go out there and check him out. But, Tommy, what's going on, man?
What's up, brother? First and foremost, listen, thank you for having me on. I always tell this story way before Giant content was even a glimmer in my eye. I used to always watch your channel Sunday night as a decompression session, to let it all out. And big fan of you, big fan of the show. And I am super pumped for where we're at right now. I can't wait to get into it.
Hey, man, I appreciate it, man. Tommy's always been really nice to me on Twitter and just seems like a really good guy. I think we think a lot alike regarding the New York Giants, and I'm excited. Let's say hello to a couple of people in the chat. What's going on, Davey? What's going on, Jeremy, man? What's going on, Chris Boss? What's going on, Mets? What's going on, Quincy Scott Young in the chat? Bill M in the chat. But obviously, we got a big matchup coming up, right? Minnesota, and this could be a preview to the first round of the playoffs. It's either going to be the Vikings or the Niners if we make the playoffs. That's the way it looks right now, unless we get the 5 seed, which I don't see happening. I don't think we're going to get the 5 seed. So I think it's either going to be Minnesota or the 49ers. So this could very well be a preview of our first round playoff matchup if we indeed make the playoffs. Tell me how you think we stack up against this Minnesota Vikings team.
Yeah, so you hit it right on the head. I think this is a litmus test for the Giants. Haven't fared the best against teams over 500 so far this season. You go to the Philly game, which was a tough one. Even the Lions matchup, we faded out in the second half. I think the Giants match up pretty well here. Schematically, there's some things that Minnesota does that I think are in the Giants' favor. So Minnesota loves to run through a zone run scheme, and Giants have struggled mightily against the run. One area they have been okay versus the run is against zone run teams. I think that's going to be a huge benefit. Also, Kirk Cousins has been sacked 40 times, most in his career, and the Giants' defensive line has been hungry. Took over that game versus Washington, single-handedly turned the momentum around on that hat trick by Mr. Kayvon Thibodeau. So I think there's a few areas where, you could look at, Justin Jefferson and not having Adoree, not having McKinney. Listen, obviously that's going to be a challenge, but let's be honest, even if we had those guys in there, this is Justin Jefferson averaging 115 yards receiving a game. This guy's no joke, whether he's out on the boundary and he's killing you with the route tree, or if he's in the slot and he's got an option read route and he does whatever he wants. So I think that was going to be a problem no matter what. But there's some things that Minnesota does that are going to help us. And let's be honest, that interior offensive line for Minnesota is not great, right? Garrett Bradbury's missing his third straight game. And we got Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams up the middle. So I think they're going to feast in the middle. And that's not even talking about the edge rushers. So I do think matchup-wise, there are a couple key areas where the Giants could get in on them.
Yeah, and I look at this Vikings team. One, you brought up Kirk Cousins. He's been sacked 40 times this year. Not the most mobile guy. So I do think we're going to have some opportunities to get after the quarterback. And I'm hoping in this game that the Vikings get a little pass happy, because we all know they like to throw the ball around. They got Hockenson, they got Jefferson, they got all these weapons. But if the Giants are going to have an opportunity to create turnovers, I'd rather them be throwing the football. We know we've struggled against the run. On the other side, I think we're going to be able to run on them. And if we can run on Minnesota, I think we're going to have a chance to win this game. Couple things I like in terms of this matchup. Minnesota ranks 28th in terms of time of possession on the year. They're 32nd in terms of overall defense, in terms of yards against. They have been solid against the run. I think they're only surrendering 4.4 yards a carry. But Barkley to me last week looked like the Barkley before the bye. He had the cuts even before the last drive where he just completely closed out the game. He was running hard throughout the entirety of that game. He had the nice juke move on the pass on the left sideline. It looked to me like Barkley was starting to get back to what he was before the bye, where it seemed like he was starting to tire out a bit there those next 3 games after that 35 carry performance against Houston. He's going to be obviously he's always a huge key, but he's going to be a huge key in this football game, because I think our best defense in this game is keeping their offense off the field. How do you do that? Running the ball with Barkley, using Daniel Jones's legs. And obviously, we got to stay strong in the red zone. That's something we've excelled at all year. We ranked this year, I think, 4th in red zone defense. So That's something we're going to have to do a great job at on the offensive side. When we get there, we got to punch the ball in. But I definitely think we got a shot. This Minnesota team, if you look over their schedule, they've only beaten a team by more than one possession once all year. That was the first game of the
Absolutely.
season against the Green Bay Packers. Outside of that, all their wins have been by 8 points or less, and there's a reason why Vegas only has them as a 4-point favorite. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think it's going to be a great game tomorrow.
And something you touched on too with Barkley. What's even more remarkable about his performance last week is that came in a game where he surpassed his career high in carries, right? So everybody's been looking at him the last few weeks like, you know what? The guy's hit a wall, career high in carries. They rode him into the ground. So to see him come out and not even just play well, Chris, he's juking guys, he's cutting guys, he's sending guys into the black hole on the field. And like you said, he had 3 straight first down runs on that powerhouse drive he had. That basically sealed it up. Well, would have sealed it up for other teams, but the Giants, unfortunately, have to have it come down into the last drive. If you've been a Giants fan for, I don't know, the last 25 years, every game pretty much has to come down to the last drive. But that was a great point, and that's going to have to continue, especially against a team that's pretty good against the run. The one thing I will say is they do struggle against rushing quarterbacks. That's one of the areas when I was doing some of the prep that I seen. They allow, give me 1 second here. So opposing quarterbacks, they allow 5.1 yards per carry. So there we go. So if you want Jones to tote the rock and Barkley's not hitting, I think schematically, creatively, there's some things you could probably put in there with Jones.
Yeah, I want to see. Listen, it's all hands on deck these last 3 games and into the playoffs. And in the future, when Jones is back, which I think we both think he's going to be, we'll see at the end of the year. But
Shout out Daniel Jones.
If and when they bring Jones back next year, I would prefer they don't have to use him as much in the run game as they have this year when they get him some help. I think they're, and he's obviously a good runner. Don't get it twisted. But I don't think he's a guy that needs to live off of the run. He doesn't need to run for 600, 700, 800 yards a year rather to be a successful quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. I think he can throw the ball from the pocket. He needs help. He needs this offensive line to improve. But this year, they haven't had a choice. He's their second best weapon outside of Barkley, his legs. And I expect them to try to utilize that as much as they can over these last 3 or 4 games. They have to. That's arguably our best weapon. When Barkley's not going, Daniel Jones has to do something with his legs. So looking forward to seeing how it pans out. But Bill, man, thank you so much, man. Aziz back up to full speed this game. He and Kayvon going to feast. Key to a win, pressure. And Bill, man, thank you so much for the incredible generosity. And yeah, I mean, let's talk about Kayvon last week, dude.
Oh my God,
dude.
Holy.
How old are you, Tommy? How old are you?
39.
Okay, 30. So we're around the same age. I'm 37. So you kind of grew up in the same area as me. You didn't really get to appreciate Lawrence Taylor, and you got to see. You started with Strahan, Armstead, Strahan, Hamilton, and then you worked your way forward. Since I've been watching the New York Giants, that era on, that had to be one of the top 6, 7 individual defensive performances I've ever seen in a New York Giants uniform. That's how dominant he was.
Yeah, it was remarkable. I mean, just thinking about it. So he's making plays behind the line of scrimmage, obviously. 3 tackles for a loss, the sack, strip, fumble, recovery. He's making plays at the second level. He's making plays. I mean, one of the more impressive plays was when Heineke scrambles out on that 2nd and goal, and it looks like he's going to score. And all of a sudden, here comes Thibodeau out of the end zone to rock him at the 2-yard line. I'm thinking when I'm watching the game, what the hell is he even doing back there? But just phenomenal. He hit at every level. His motor is ridiculous. People want to talk about he struggles setting the edge sometimes against the run. That's usually the last thing that comes for a rookie edge rusher. But even still on those plays, I've seen him still make the play regardless.
Dude, he made like 4. He made like 4 plays down 20 yards down the field last week.
Ridiculous, dude. He's just his motor is unbelievable. The energy he brings to the team. You've seen him hyping the team up. He said, "There's no effing tomorrow. It's today. Got to get it done today." And that's what they went and did. And as a rookie, to show that leadership, dude, and on the field, remarkable.
Yeah, and you think about the impact his performance, and it wasn't. I mean, this was obviously a signature game, but he had a great game against the Cowboys. Like, he's looked really good all year, really.
Closed out the Ravens game.
Yeah, the last 3 or 4 weeks, you could tell this was coming, and he finally actually won a game almost by himself, single-handedly. Right. But with that being said, with his improved performance, that should only help the guy that Bill just mentioned. That should help Azeez Ojulari. If defense has got to start paying more attention to Kayvon Thibodeau, what do you think that's going to do for Azeez? And this Minnesota offensive line is not good. You just talked about it. 40 sacks this year. They're missing their starting center with Brad. So, and we know we got a great interior with Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams. So I see opportunities in this game from a defensive standpoint for the New York Giants. You got to get them into second and third long situations, similar to what we did last week. And I'm hoping that, because I don't know about you, when you watched that Washington game last week, Washington fans blame the referees, and I understand that. Giants, let's be honest with ourselves. Giants fans would have done the same thing.
But what happened the first matchup? First matchup, we got screwed.
We got screwed with it, no doubt about it.
Royally screwed.
But I'm going to tell you, when I had an opportunity to think about it, if I was a Washington fan the next day, because obviously the day of, I would have been furious with the referees.
Absolutely.
Their play caller blew that game.
Oh,
Their
yeah, 100%.
play caller blew that game. He ran the ball 4 times with Brian Robinson in the second half.
Yep.
We couldn't stop Brian Robinson. He only had 11 carries for the game.
Yep.
And I'm hoping Minnesota does the same thing. I want, a lot of people look at these weapons and they're like, I don't want them throwing. No, I want them throwing, because that's going to give the New York Giants opportunities to create some turnovers.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope they do the same thing.
Listen, you can't stop the pass if you can't get to stop the pass. If you're giving up running plays, Giants are giving up what this season? 5.4 yards per carry to running backs.
Ridiculous.
That's unacceptable. You're not going to be able to even get an attempt to stop the pass if you've given up 5.4 yards. And that's your point. The Commanders took their foot off the gas with the running game, and they tried to drop back, and it wasn't to be. They had some good plays in the passing game, and there's spots where the Giants could be had in the passing game. Let's be honest.
Well, Dotson killed us on that one play.
Yeah, they got some good receivers, McLaurin, Dotson. They got Samuels. They got some good receivers, but I expect the Vikings to do the same thing they've done all year, which is take shots to Jefferson. They tend to take their foot off the gas with the running game also. I was talking to one of the Vikings content creators, and he goes, it's so frustrating when you watch these games because Dalvin Cook just starts to get going, just starts to get his juices flowing, and they're like, stop. We're going to just throw the ball now. So I expect them to do the same.
With Robinson last week with Washington, and the week before, the last time we played him too, same thing. So I'm hoping they take a similar approach. I want them to get pass happy in this game. Maybe we create a couple of fumbles like we were able to do last week. Dan, man, thank you very much. Says, if we win this week, should we shut down Adoree Jackson till the playoffs? Hopefully Xavier comes back too. Listen, I obviously completely understand the mindset, Dan, because at that point you're pretty much in the playoffs. We'll see if we clinch, if we win. The way I look at it though, Tommy, and maybe you have a different perspective than I do. I don't view this. I know you have this same perspective, but I don't know if you're going to have the same opinion I have off this perspective. I don't view this team as a Super Bowl roster. I don't. I mean, if we make the playoffs, great. We'll see what happens. But I think that it's valuable for, if you could play on this team, go out there and play. Learn. We're still in brand new offense, brand new defense. We need to learn the schemes. If he's 100%, I want him playing. I don't want him sitting for the playoffs. I don't want any of these guys sitting for the playoffs if they're good to go. That's my mindset on this team right now. I think it's valuable for a lot of these players to get as many reps as they possibly can leading up into the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. If Adoree's healthy next week and he's ready to go, put him in there. I don't want him starting ice cold in a playoff game after missing 6-7 games. I will say I have some doubts about McKinney coming back. I know he said last week.
I don't think he's coming back.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back this year. I know he said, I'm feeling good. I'm in a good spot right now, but he's going to say that. So I don't think he's going to be back this season. Adoree, I think, has a good shot to play versus Indy. Most likely probably will be Philly. He'll probably get some real practice in this week and probably start in Philly, which I think will be a good matchup because they might hold out their starters. Might be a good way to kind of ease Adoree back in. But when he's ready, put him out there.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me with McKinney. Obviously, he's a player who wants to be out there. He's going to tell you he can play, but it doesn't look like to me he's going to play. No. Adoree, by all accounts, like you said, I think Renan said it looked like he was going to play. I think Patricia Traina said it looked like he was going to play. So hopefully he's back out there for the Colts because we're going to need him. But yeah, if guys could play, I want them playing. That's the way I look at it. If they get hurt, they get hurt. That's football. If we were the Eagles, I may feel completely differently because the Eagles right now.
I agree with the roster. And this is the thing, right? So as the season progresses, you stack some wins up, expectations start to rise a little bit. But let's be realistic here. Go back to the blue-white scrimmage in summertime, right? Where everybody came out of that scrimmage like, holy cow, this team might not even win more than 2-3 games, right? That was the whole basically training camp and criticizing Jones. So where I'm at right now is super proud of the team. 8 wins is awesome. Definitely want to get to 9 wins. But this roster is flawed. People want to compare it to the 2007 Giants roster. literally completely different levels. That offensive line was playing extremely well on that Giants team. Plaxico Burress, Jeremy Shockey, Amani Toomer. You could just go down the list. There's not one, our fourth string receiver on that team would be starting.
How about the defensive line on that team? I mean,
right, exactly.
And this defensive line is pretty good, but not that level.
No.
But yeah, I mean, listen, we'll see what happens when we get there. But I'm not going to save guys for the playoffs. I want these guys playing. I want these guys growing as football players. Joe, man, thank you very much, man. We need a very balanced offense tomorrow. We cannot be predictable. Giants 19, Vikings 17. If we hold the Vikings 17 points, I will be thrilled. I don't know how many times they've been held under 17 this year. They got a good offense. If they do that, I will be thrilled. I think it's going to take a bit more for the Giants to win. I'm thinking mid-20s, 23-27 in that ballpark. I think if they're going to have a chance to win this game. But you know what? Crazier things have happened. We held the Patriots to 14 points in the Super Bowl when they were 16-0. So you never know. And our best chance to do that, Joe, is to pound the rock, win the time of possession, control the clock. That's our best defense tomorrow. We got to have long drives. Speaking of long drives, wow. 98 yards. And when you go back to that game last week, dude, they possessed the ball for 13 out of the first 14 minutes of that game. And I said to myself, when they had the ball on the 2-yard line, I said, just get one first down, punt. But I was starting to really worry that this defense is going to tire out.
Right.
That drive, and I'm not, Thibodeau was the main guy why we won the game. But that drive was the biggest drive of Daniel Jones's career by a mile. And the conversion on the 4th and 9, Dable showing the confidence to go with him in the 3rd and 9 as well. He hit Richie James in a similar fashion on both plays. What a drive that was.
Yeah, Jones was, I think, 10 of 12 for 91 yards on that drive, dude. And, I think it was an important drive for a couple of reasons. And Jones has had a couple of drives this year where he's put the team on his back. Go back to the Green Bay game in London. They got the ball backed up in the shadow of their own end zone. First play, Barkley slams his shoulder into the ground. He's out for the whole drive. Giants go, I think it was like 94 yards on that drive, all Daniel Jones. But this was particularly impressive because, like you said, a lot of the talk out there is, coaching staff doesn't really believe in Jones. They kind of keep him tucked away. They don't want him to make the big mistake. Giants have they're dead last in 20-plus yard completions on the season with 21. But this drive showed you a couple things. One, if you protect Daniel Jones as he should be protected, he's a high-end NFL starting quarterback. He proved it on that drive. He was accurate. He was decisive. He didn't burp the baby and wait too long. He was looking off safeties. He was going through his reads, his progressions. He was phenomenal on that drive. And honestly, and this may be, because I'm a Jones supporter, I think that's what we're going to see down the stretch here. And I think the Vikings are a good team for him to come against this week because the Vikings like to do a lot of off coverage, a lot of dime, a lot of quarters. They like to sit back, wait for you to make that big mistake. So I think the game plan this week is going to be similar to the Commanders' game plan where they're going to dink, they're going to dunk, they're going to try to get into the zones. And one thing, and the Giants receivers take a lot of criticism, sometimes rightfully so. What the Giants receivers do well is they do work the holes in zones very well. You have Richie James, right? You have Hodgins. They could work the zones, and that's something that could really work against Minnesota. I do think they'll need more deep shots, though, this game than they had versus Washington.
Which is where Slayton will come into play.
With Slayton, yep.
Potentially, we haven't used him a whole lot the last couple of games.
Maybe Galladay.
Yeah.
Don't hold your breath.
Yeah, exactly. T, thank you so much. How often is a Quintaro a sack? Oh, she's talking about the play by Kayvon. A sack, strip, scoop, and score executed. And who else has done it? Is it even an official stat? I don't think it's an official stat. Not that I know of. Maybe it is. OC's done it. LT's done it. It's not often though. It's not often.
Absolutely not.
Didn't Tank Lawrence do it against Daniel Jones in his rookie year or second year, if I recall, when we played the Cowboys?
So,
yeah. So I've seen it happen, but it's not that often. It was certainly a special play for Kayvon Thibodeau. And I forgot who it was. Somebody did a film breakdown on it. I think it was Brett Coleman. You know who Brett Coleman is?
Yeah.
He did a really good job of it. I think I saw it on Twitter where Kayvon actually communicated to Azeez Ojulari before the play, and that is what set up the sack opportunity for Kayvon, because it was something that I wish I had it so I could show it to you and everybody in the chat. So basically what he did was he told, by signaling to him, he told Azeez Ojulari to go straight up field. So Heineke wouldn't have the ability to roll out of the pocket, and that allowed Kayvon Thibodeau to get the sack. So they showed the communicate, which is really impressive for a rookie to be able to think like that and read the offensive line like that. So that was just an incredible play all around.
We got lucky with him. We got lucky.
Oh, he's a beast. He should have never dropped to us.
Nope.
Never. NY Giants 26, man. Just watched Top Gun. What's up? What have you been waiting for? You a movie guy, Tommy?
Yeah, absolutely.
You saw Top Gun.
Oh, yeah. I've been watching Top Gun since I was like 10 years old.
You saw the new one, though?
Yeah. Oh, that was a great movie.
Loved it. Loved it. I saw it 3 times. Loved it.
Did you really?
Yeah. I have the movie pass. So I got, I pay $20 a month. I go to unlimited movies. Lancey, man, thank you very much, man. Giants is a different team at the playoffs. They could make a run. I mean, listen, anything's possible when you get into the playoffs, but I'm not going to set those expectations. This is a team, the quarterback's never played in a playoff game. The head coach has never. We saw the lumps that Eli Manning took his first playoff game against the Carolina Panthers, which definitely a more talented team. So if they make the playoffs, maybe they could go and run. You never know. That's why you play the games.
Right.
But I'm not gonna set those expectations. I think it's valuable just for this team to even make the playoffs, similar to the Philadelphia Eagles last year, who a lot of people felt like didn't belong. They got that experience. You saw it helped them grow this year.
Listen, if you pulled the curtain back and you told me, Shepard's playing in the playoffs and Wandale's playing in the playoffs and, Tony's healthy and back on the Giants, maybe they can make a run in the playoffs. But I just think offensively, too one-dimensional right now to make a serious run. But who knows? That's why you don't play games on paper.
Yeah, I mean, listen, could they win a game? Yeah, I think they could win a game. Especially if they played Minnesota, I think they'd have a chance. I don't think we'd beat San Francisco. I just don't think we match up with them.
That's a bad matchup, yeah.
Minnesota, I think we'd stand a chance. GW, thank you so much, man. I think Daniel Jones could throw 5 touchdowns if he just had someone to throw to. I don't know. I think Daniel Jones is a good quarterback. That's what I'm going to continue to say. I think he's a good. I'm not going to say the word great. I think he's a good quarterback, and I think he's definitely good enough to push forward with for 2023. And you go from there. I was thinking about this today, Tommy. We heard about that the Giants did not supposedly talk to Daniel Jones at the bye regarding the contract, but they talked to Barkley. Part of me was thinking, is it possible they want to get a deal done with Barkley and don't want to have to use the franchise tag on him because they want to use the franchise tag on Daniel Jones? Part of me was thinking that. Do they want to get a 3 or 4 year deal done with Barkley so they could use, say, the $28 million transition tag on Daniel Jones?
Right.
And then teams have the ability to exceed that contract, or he stays on with the New York Giants. That might be what the New York Giants are thinking right now with DJ.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually. It's funny you say that. I thought about that when the news broke during the bye week. I do think, in a way, their deals are intertwined. Yeah. I think they want to lock Barkley up. I think locking Barkley up might be a little bit difficult. He's represented by Rock Nation. They typically are extreme when it comes to negotiate, and they want every single dollar out of it, which rightfully so. But to go back to the original question with Jones throwing 5 touchdowns, I mean, listen, the kid has played tough. He's played hurt. He's smart. He's progressing in the offense. He's a weapon with his legs. He's totally eliminated the turnover issue, which people couldn't stop haunting him over that. Even last year really didn't have any turnovers. That stigma stuck around for a little while. But you see it out there. I mean, you've seen it again last week. Slating a couple passes he probably could have reeled in. You had the big 3rd down drop from Bellinger. That was a tough one. Just get this kid some help. And I don't want to hear about it. It's just his 4th year and he's reached his ceiling. He hasn't reached his ceiling because he's at career highs and everything. And this season, maybe that doesn't check your specific box as a fan, not throwing for 350 yards and 5 touchdowns, but the player could only do what he's asked of. And all you could ask of that player is to progress. And that's exactly what Daniel Jones has done this season. And the reason why outside of Barkley, this team has 8 wins is because Jones has played smart, turnover-free football. It's not the most sexy brand of football, but he goes out there every week, no turnovers. I mean, you know how I feel about Jones. I can't wait to see him with a legit number 1 receiver. Let me ask you something, Chris.
Yeah.
Who has been Jones' best wide receiver he's played with in his career, in your opinion?
Oh, it's either Darius Slayton or Golden Tate.
Right. I mean,
not saying much.
No.
Not saying much. That was not prime Golden Tate either.
No, absolutely not.
So
maybe you throw Shepard in the mix for the fun of it,
too.
But
yeah, Shepard. But he's always hurt.
Yeah. Either way, I mean, what is Slayton, a 4 on a good team? Shepard's maybe a 2 or a 3 when he's healthy, and Tate was just, even though Tate, listen, a lot about Tate, he made some really good plays for the Giants. He
He was
caused a
good. He was
stir.
good Daniel Jones' rookie year.
Absolutely. And he was a guy that got zero separation. It
Yeah.
reminds me of Galladay when the fans say, well, the Giants don't use him properly. He's a 50-50 guy. Yeah, I get that. I understand that. But look at Golden Tate in that year. The guy got no separation at all and still made circus touchdown catches in tight coverage. So,
Yeah,
excited
Tate
to
was
see.
actually. I see fans doing this. Golden Tate had 700 yards. He missed 4 games due to suspension. I think
Yeah,
he caught 7 touchdowns. And Daniel Jones, 6 or 7
absolutely.
touchdowns in Daniel Jones' rookie year. Golden Tate was pretty good as a Giant his first year. Second year,
Yeah.
not so much.
Mm-mm.
Alan, thank you so much, man. Hot take: the Giants are going to win out 3. That's a very hot take. That's a
steaming
scolding
hot.
take. I just want to get one. I mean, obviously, I want all 3, but get one. One gets us into the playoffs. We're not going to move up too much in the seeding anyway, even if we go 3-0.
Right.
The highest we're going to get is 5, which we're probably not even going to get. So more
Right.
than likely, we're going to be the 6 or the 7. Just get into the tournament, and we'll see what we could do when we get there. That's my outlook. Of course, if we can win these 3 games, that'd be great. But just get into the playoffs. Oh, you're agreeing with what you said is said. Oh, yeah, it is said. A washed-up Golden Tate was his best option of his career. It was. I mean, it's just a fact.
There you
go. Not saying a whole lot.
Giants offensive lines, I think the best they've been ranked in Jones' career was 24th. That was his rookie year. That's the best a Giant offensive line has been ranked in 4 years. So.
I say this all the time. It's like Benjamin Button. It's like we're doing it in reverse. Eli Manning had it set up perfectly when he first started, and then it just regressed the second half of his career. I feel like we did the opposite with Daniel Jones. We set him up
absolutely.
And I fear if they were to move off of Daniel Jones, it would be the same thing because there's still, like you were saying, there's still so many holes on this team. But I don't think that's going to happen. Stephen Lilly, man, what's going on, man? Hiya, bud. Just want to say Merry Christmas. And honestly, I believe this team, and most importantly, since Coach Coughlin, I believe in this coaching setup. Merry Christmas to you, Stephen Lilly, from
Merry
across
Christmas,
the pond. Thank you so much for being here. Been a supporter of mine since I started the channel. So I hope you're having a Merry Christmas, buddy. Thank you for popping in. As far as what you had to say, yeah, listen, Gable's done a fantastic job. And are there things we could nitpick about? Absolutely. Adoree Jackson should not have been fielding punts. Has there been decisions he's made from within certain games that I was not in love with? Yeah, there was a game or two. I remember off the top of my head, I didn't like the way that he used the timeouts late into the game. I can't remember the game that it was. I think it was the way that he utilized the timeout. Yeah, in the Washington, the first time around in overtime. Yep. Didn't like the way that he utilized his timeouts down the stretch there. He's had some questionable things here and there, but overall, Brian Daboll has been first class. And this past week, I think showed you a lot about Brian Daboll, and I think it showed you a lot about this football team. Because look at it like this: this team was 7-2, they dropped 2 straight. Then they have a potentially a tie that could have set this season off the rails because that game was in hand. The New York Giants blow the opportunity to win that game.
Absolutely,
they get lucky to get out of there with a tie. Then they get demolished. They play their worst game of the season against the Philadelphia Eagles. Must-win game Sunday Night Football when this team is reeling against a team that is well-rested, an extra week to prepare. They just played the New York Giants, and the New York Giants go out there, and they have one of their best performances of the year. So I think that speaks a lot to the players. I think that speaks a lot to Brian Daboll.
Yeah, I agree. And I said going into the Washington game last weekend, my eyes on the coaching staff. And people were upset that I said that. I said, Giants got their doors blown off versus Philly. And yes, they're an immensely more talented team, but you still want to compete. You don't want to look up and it's 21-0 and, basically the start of the second quarter. So I said I have my eyes on the coaching staff. And I think that was one of the best coach games this season, especially that 4th and 9. I got to be honest with you, Chris. I thought they were going to just try to draw them off sides. Yeah, I really did.
Yeah, I did too.
I was shocked when Feliciano snapped that. I love Jones going to Richie James in the huddle and saying, you better catch that. I love that. Love that leadership from Jones. And this coaching staff has been phenomenal. Maybe Bobby Johnson. I think the offensive line could be a little bit progressed a little bit more at this point, but even they have had injuries. But overall, you came into this season with a roster that was razor thin, right? And how many injuries? If you would list out the injuries on this team, just of guys that are not here anymore, they're out for the year. I mean, even just this rookie class. And you're picking guys up off the street, whether it's Fabian Moreau, Landon Collins, or Marcus Johnson, whatever. And these guys come in, play meaningful, competitive snaps. That shows you a GM and head coach that are in lockstep, something the Giants haven't had for a long time, Chris.
100%. And that's why I was so happy when we hired Dable, because I knew that he was a guy that was close with Shane, handpicked, and that's good. You want those guys on the same wavelength. So they love each other. And yeah, I think they have a good plan. I think they're going to build this thing right. Obviously I'm super excited about the remainder of this season, but I might even be more excited for the offseason to see what Shane and Dable do, how they start to construct this team when they have a full offseason, when they have some cap space, when they have some very crucial decisions to make. So I think a lot of Giants fans, and that's why it's inevitable. You're always going to bring that up when you do a live stream, when you're on Twitter. It's in the back of everybody's mind at the end of the year, what's going to develop with this football team. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Joe Shane and Brian Dable decide to do. And Jack says 100%, Chris, they rally around the coach. Locker room seems tight-knit. They definitely do. And I'll tell you what, Jack, going into that game, I had a lot more optimism than I thought I was going to because of the things that were coming out of that locker room. The players seemed ultra confident. They seemed much more relaxed. Saquon Barkley specifically, I remember he was doing the interview, and he looked like he was really loose and excited. And you could tell that those guys like each other. And that's a credit to Brian Dable. That's a credit to Brian Dable and the culture that they've started to build. Which is a winning one. So hopefully they can maintain it. I think they will. I think we got two good guys at the top. Jeremiah says, "Go Big Blue, beat the Vikes." He's an Eagles fan.
Sir. Woohoo!
He's an Eagles fan, but he wants our help so he can clinch the number one.
That's a good point too. The Giants could do double duty tomorrow with a win. They could put more distance between the Vikings and Philly might be a little bit more apt to sit Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders, AJ Brown in that Week 18 matchup. So Giants could pull a double dip on them in tomorrow.
Yeah, I think the Eagles got it locked anyway because they beat the Vikings head to head. But they'll clinch it if they win. And Hurts isn't playing, so we'll see how they do. But my guess is Hurts is not going to play the last week of the season because they're going to have it locked up. The guy's a little dinged up. I don't think they're going to want to mess with that. Yeah, I don't think they're going to mess with that. MY Giants 26, man. What's going on? Bradbury out. Big disadvantage. Big advantage. Dex. Yeah, talking about the interior offensive lineman for the Vikings. That's who you're referring to. But yeah, I mean, listen, they have their advantages too. I'm not going to hide that. Justin Jefferson, they're going to have a big advantage. TJ Hawkinson, they're going to have a big advantage. They got as good a weapons as anybody in the league, which I think is a big reason why Kirk Cousins is statistically successful as he is. I mean, look at who he's throwing to. And he's been in the same offense now for 3 or 4 years. But I think we'll have an opportunity to get after the quarterback. I do. And I think Wink will draw up a good game plan. But they're going to have their plays. They're going to go 20-20. But we're going to have to find a way to create some turnovers and create some confusion with Kirk Cousins. I think we'll be able to do it. I think we're going to create a couple of turnovers in this game. I really do.
Hawkinson's a good one too, Chris. You bring that up. Averaging 6+ targets a game. Giants allow 113 passer rating when the opposing quarterback targets the tight end. That's going to be a huge matchup, especially against his linebacking core. And I take a lot of heat for this. This got to be the worst Giants linebacking core I've ever seen.
Why do you take heat for that? It's horrible. Our linebacking core is horrible.
I mean, it's just unbelievable. And you watch even Sunday night, and Jalen Smith is flopping all over, is hitting the wrong holes, wrong shoulder leverage. McFadden's getting sent on blitzes. He's not even disengaging from the blockers. So that's going to be big, man. If they can't corral Hawkinson over the middle of the field, it's going to be a tough one.
Oh, for sure. But I'm in complete agreement with you. This is one of the worst Giants linebackers. It might be the worst.
Brutal, dude.
It's horrible. It's awful.
And testament to the D-line. Sorry, Chris. Testament to the D-line. They played so well. They've been able to cover up for a lot of the deficiencies in that linebacking core and secondary.
Kayvon specifically last week, he had 4 tackles for a loss in the first quarter?
Yeah, ridiculous.
When they tried to run the ball. MY Giants 26, man. Thank you very much, man. 26-14 late touchdown Giants win.
Yeah.
I ain't going in that cocky. I just want to win. Don't care how much it's by. I think it's going to be closer than that. I think it's going to be within 3 or 4 points, but I got us coming out with a narrow victory. Harrison, man, thank you very much, man. Dable's 2-point against the Titans, first week of the year, will be long forgotten in a year or two. But personally for me, that was the pivot for hopefully years to come. Harrison, I don't know if you were in my stream. I turned the bad dog before that fourth quarter started. And I don't know how I was just because when you watch games, Tommy, you know this. You like to put your coach's hat on and you like to think from their, at least I do. I like to think from their perspective and say, what do I think they're going to do if this certain situation poses? And I said that right at the start of the fourth quarter because I said to myself, okay, the Giants are down 7. They're on the road. And we all knew going into the year, we all ragged on Judge because of how conservative he was. And I said to Bad Dog, I said, if they tie this game, or they get within a point with a touchdown with a minute or two to go in this game, they're going to go for two. And that's exactly, it played out exactly like that. And like Harrison said, I do think that set the tone. And I do think that I think a huge thing with Dable and why he's been as successful as he's been, he instills confidence in his players. He makes these players believe that he believes in them. And that goes a long way, for sure. Like Joe Judge, I mean, he's doing QB sneaks on third, regardless of who the quarterback is, 3rd and 9. So I think that has a lot to do with why he's had the success he has. And I do think that set the tone. And this week, he took it to another level with the 4th and 9. But Brian Dable's been doing it all year, man. He's shown faith in these players. So we got Ronnie. Happy holidays. Love you guys.
Ronnie, I love Ronnie. Ronnie's a big supporter of Tommy's takes too. I love you, Ronnie. Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays to you. I see her on Twitter all the time. But
he's awesome, dude.
Ronnie, thank you so much for popping in. Appreciate you. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. Neil says good teams generate their own luck. See, this is my mindset when it comes to luck. Because, a lot of people, Tommy, will talk about how the Giants got lucky during their Super Bowl runs when they try to knock us. The David Tyree catch, the dropped interception by Asante Samuel. But here's the thing. What Neil said is what I believe too. Every team is bound to get lucky at some point. The good teams take advantage of it. You think about the New England Patriots with Tom Brady. All their Super Bowls, they got lucky in some way, shape, or form. You had the Tuck rule.
Tuck rule started the whole dynasty.
Yeah, the Tuck rule started the dynasty. You had the Russell Wilson throw on the 1-yard line. You had Atlanta forgetting to run out the clock with a 28-3 lead to even give Brady the opportunity to come back in that game. So the good teams, when they catch the break, they take advantage of it. That's the way I look at it. I think as fans, you don't when bad teams get lucky, you just don't realize it because they don't take advantage of it because they're bad. But I don't think any team gets more lucky than another. That's the way I look at it. I think the good teams take advantage of the luck they receive.
Absolutely.
And MY Giants 26, thank you very much. He says, just subscribe to Giants Country.
Yes,
there you go.
Sir. Woo, thank you. Appreciate it.
There you go. And what's going on, MYB, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, man. And that's the other thing with the calls from the referees. I feel the same way. For everybody, whenever I do a post-game video, I will within the game. I'll kill a referee when they drop a flag that I don't think they should be. But after the game, I will never blame the referees whether we win or lose. Because the way I look at it is what goes around comes around. Sometimes you're gonna get the benefit of the whistle. Sometimes you're not. That's the way I look at it. Usually it evens out. That's the way I look at it. Like maybe and I personally, I hate when fans blame the referees. I just do because I say to myself,
so much alike, man. I can't stand that.
I hate it because I say to myself, Tommy, it annoys the hell out of me.
Right.
When Washington fans do it to us this week.
Right.
So I'm not going to bitch and moan when it happens to us because when we're on the receiving end of it, I don't want to hear it from other people.
And it happens. They're human. But those, you know, how many plays, even in the last game versus Washington, you could say, 3 plays that the refs could have called differently? That's 3 plays out of how many plays in an entire game? My response to the Washington fans were, you know what? You should have scored more points. Right? You should have stopped us more times. Like, you can't use that as an excuse. I mean, there's egregious calls, but come on. I forgot his name. He just said, my theory on that is good teams that play with skill, good luck will happen. They put themselves into position. And listen, the refs are human. When teams are bad and teams have been bad for a long time, they're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. That's just the way it goes. Where adversely, if a team is, a Patriots dynasty or a Chiefs team, they're going to get the benefit of the doubt. Yep. But when you have a game like the Giants and Commanders, that's even Steven, in my opinion. So I don't worry about that. Giants got jerked the first matchup. Commanders got jerked this time. Even Steven, on to the next.
I'm with you. Joseph, man, what's going on, man? Good to see you, buddy. He says, happy holidays and let's go Giants.
Happy holidays, brother.
You, Joe. Thanks so much for being here, buddy. Happy holidays to everybody. Thank you guys for being here. We'll talk to the chat. Charles Barkley says illegal hands to the face, negates pass interference. The play stands, game over, loser. I'm with you. The other penalty before, I guess, was a little bit questionable. People were talking about that too in terms of because I guess they said McLaurin was talking to the referee and the referee said that he was on the line. I don't care. We won. And at the end of the day, in a year, nobody's going to remember it.
2 things with those plays. The McLaurin one, it's not the ref's job to make sure you're set. He was still just a smidge off the line. And the very last one, exactly, hands to the face. Dexter, you know why there was more time on that play? The illegal hands to the face. And Dexter Lawrence was essentially tackled at the line of scrimmage while Heineke still had the ball in his hand. So that's a wash.
Yeah, and then you go back to the I saw I think it was Dan. Dan did a film breakdown. Maybe it was him. I can't. Or maybe it was Nick Filato. I can't remember. On the throw where Jones almost threw a pick to Saquon Barkley. On that play, Richie James got tackled. He got tackled in the field of play. So you can look at several plays throughout the course of a game where the referee screw up plays. It's just the way it works. NY Giants 26 says, love supporting Giant YouTubers such as you guys. We appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for being here, buddy. And Chris, what's going on, man? He says, I think in order for the Giants to win, they need to utilize Hodgins and Bellinger. They need to put up 24. I agree with that. 23, 24 points. What do you think of Hodgins?
I like Hodgins. Me and Dan Schneer were going at it, having a good debate, a fun debate a few days ago. And I was saying, you know what, he should be the number wide receiver one. He should get the lion's share of the targets. He argued for Slayton, which is also a great argument to toss up. I like the kid. Like I said,
I saw that. You were saying that Hodgins is the one, and he was saying Slayton. Yeah, I saw that.
That could go either way. That's 50-50. That could go either way.
Yeah.
But the reason I like Hodgins is because he could work in the zone. He's shifty. He's a good route runner. He was always a super talented kid, but seemed to always get hurt right before he got his big opportunity. So players like that, to me, are valuable. Whereas if he was an 8 or 9 year veteran that we picked off the scrap heap, this is still a young kid. And Jones shows trust in him. I expect him to have a pretty big game tomorrow.
Yeah, I do too. I'm a
fan. I don't know what happened with Bellinger. Once Bellinger came back from the injury, they really haven't utilized him like they were, prior to the eye injury, where they were hitting him on the play action bootleg rollouts over and over and over. I like to see him. I know he's not the most athletic tight end, and he's not going to break long, reception and rack, but I would like to see him get involved a little bit more.
Yeah, I think Bellinger's being. You're not getting to see the full capabilities of Bellinger this year because our offensive line is as bad as it is.
Right.
I think as this offensive line gets better and they don't need to use him as much in terms of the pass blocking game and he could go out and run more routes, you'll start to see Bellinger grow more as a pass catcher. But I'm a fan of Bellinger. That looks like a great pick. Really good blocker, sure-handed tight end. And yeah, I hope Hodgins is back. I don't necessarily know if he's a starter, but I think at a bare minimum, I think he's a really good wide receiver 4. I think he could be a capable wide receiver for the New York Giants, and I'm hoping he's back. I know he's a free agent, so is Slayton. I think we're going to lose Slayton. I do. Because the wide receiver market is so thin, man. It's so thin. He's going to get paid somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I like this question. This is a good one.
Yeah. Do you think Bredesen will start tomorrow? What's going on, Ruben, man? Thanks for popping in. I'll let you start.
First and foremost, Ruben, big supporter of Tommy's Takes. Ruben, I love you, brother. Happy holidays. Thank you for everything. So this is unique. This is a unique situation because I'm watching the game, second half versus Washington, and I'm like, can you just put Nick Gates at center, please?
Yeah.
Just put Nick Gates at center. Put Bredesen at left guard. I wish we had a Zudu to replace Glowinski because he's been a liability in pass pro. But I do have to say, in that second half, on the lion's share of those big Barkley runs, those tough runs, Feliciano was breaking the holes open for him. So It is a tough situation. I would like to see Bredesen left guard, Nick Gates center. I know Dable, Bobby Johnson, Kafka, they love their bigger offensive linemen, especially on the run game to weigh on the defensive line. But I think the best offensive line for the Giants right now is Bredesen left guard, Gates center. You?
Yeah, same. Exact same. I'd like to see Azudu grow, but he's hurt. But right now, yeah, I think that's the line you got to go with. Glowinski on the other side.
Injury too, huh? The neck injury.
Yeah, they've had a couple of neck injuries this year. This team.
Man.
But I want to see Azudu grow. Hopefully next year. I'm hoping he could develop into a starter. But for now, yeah, I think Bredesen and Gates absolutely should be out there. I'm done with Feliciano. Feliciano was getting cooked. And yeah, I'm sure he had a couple of good blocks here and there. He was getting cooked even last week when the offensive line was playing pretty well. I remember Barkley when he had the 5 or 6 yard loss. Feliciano got right off the line.
And pass pro, he struggles versus stunts as well. He does not play well against the stunts, man. So it's gonna be a tough one.
I'm not a fan of Feliciano, but I knew what he was when we signed him. He's a stopgap. He's familiar with Bobby Johnson. You bring him in here for a year as you grow the offensive line. But next year, I don't think we're done building this line. I think we're going to draft a lineman at
Me too.
relatively early, if I had to guess. Relatively early. And Ruben says, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Ruben, man. Thanks for being
Merry
here.
Christmas, brother.
Remember Matt Parrott?
Matt Bird, Mr. Softy.
Yeah, I remember him. And he got to play this year. Remember he came in when we were getting destroyed against the Eagles, right? And he gave up a sack. I think he gave up a sack when Tyrod Taylor fumbled the ball on the first play.
Absolutely. And listen, when your own coach comes out and questions your toughness, which happened last season, that's never a good sign for you. Never a good sign. So, and he shows it on the field. I don't think there's much left with Pert, honestly.
By the way, Charles Bark was asking, what's your channel name? Go ahead. Shout out your channel.
Yeah, so my channel it's on Giants Country YouTube. The show's called Tommy's Takes, but the channel is Giants Country. But you could search Tommy's Takes, it'll pop up, and you see I got the logo in the background. I typically do 2 to 3 shows a week. I'll do the preview, I'll do the review. Sometimes if news breaks, I'm a little different from some other channels. It's funny. Next week is my year anniversary that I started creating content, and it's amazing that I got to be on the show because Chris is someone that I've looked up to, I patted myself after, someone that I admire, and the guy takes a lot of shit out there, but you know what? Gets in there every day. He's positive, he's knowledgeable, loves his followers and supporters. So it's kind of funny this came together like this, but yeah, you could check me out on Giants Country YouTube.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. And yeah, man, it is what it is. The way I look at it is no matter what you do, you're going to have haters. Like, if you're an ultra negative fan, you're going to have haters too. Right. And if you're a guy that tries to see the bright side of things, you're going to have haters too. Because there's some fans that want to be miserable, or there's some fans that don't maybe miserable is not the right word, but there's some fans that don't
the realist.
They don't want
fan realist.
I think we're realists. We just look at things from a glass half full perspective.
Right.
I think we look at this team and we realize that this team has a ton of holes. I don't think, I don't think we're unrealistic. We just look at things differently than other people, and that's okay. Everybody has different opinions. Everybody's, has their own side of things when they view a football team. But everybody, you're always going to have people that knock you when you do content, right? Especially as you grow. Right. So it is what it is. But I'm not changing. The one thing I learned when I first started on YouTube, Tommy, my first year I started on YouTube was 2018. And the 2019 draft was the first draft I covered.
Really?
Yeah, I started watching the Giants. I started doing the Giants games in 2018, but it was after the draft. So my first draft was the Daniel Jones draft. That was my first draft. And that year,
classic.
Yeah. But that year, I felt the pressure. I didn't want to take a quarterback, much like this year. I didn't want to take a quarterback in that draft because I viewed the team the same way I view this team now. I thought that we weren't fit to support a quarterback. But I felt the pressure from the fan base to support Dwayne Haskins because that was the thing. Everybody wanted Dwayne Haskins. And I thought Dwayne Haskins had potential. I watched some game film on him, whatever. But I learned after that year, I'm not letting the fan base push me around. I'm going to give my opinion. If you don't like it, piss off. My opinion last year, I don't want nothing to do with Malik Willis. My opinion this year, I don't want nothing to do with a quarterback. I want Daniel Jones back on a short-term commitment. You don't like my opinion? Go listen to somebody else who has a different opinion. That's my outlook on it. So that's the most important thing that I tell content creators all the time. Give your true and honest opinion. Just have a good reason to support the opinion that you do have. That's it.
Well said. Let me say this too. I've been critical of Daniel Jones this season. There's been multiple times I've been critical of him. I thought there have been some plays that were left on the field. I think there's still a little bit of a trust factor. I just don't know what that trust factor is, whether that's the coaches not trusting in him not trusting in the receivers to make a big play, or the whole thing altogether. I think there's trust issues, which happens when you have a roster like this, right? Which happens when, Darius Slayton's your number one and is dropping 17% of the passes that go to him. If you're Daniel Jones, you're going to say, you know what? Let me take this 5-6, short thing right here. It's 5-6 yards. That's a short thing. Live to fight another down. So I do think there have been plays that have been left out there. I would never let my support stop me from being objective or critical when it needs to be, because more than any other player, and I'm sure you feel the same, I'm a Giants fan before any fan of any player. So anybody that follows me, I'm always going to give it real, especially if you see my in-game tweets, which are a little bit different from my regular tweets. I get into it. I'm always going to give it to the real.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think the trust has a lot less to do with Daniel Jones and a lot more to do with the overall offensive
Yeah,
roster.
I agree.
I think that's why they have a limited offense, because the receivers that you touched on and the offensive line, they don't
No
trust to hold
line.
up and block.
Yep.
And people said this past week the offensive line played well. And they played as well as you could hope for as a Giants fan. They got
Right.
cooked the week before. We didn't give up a sack. But why did we not give up a sack, Tommy? Because we got the ball out in a second.
Yeah, it
Every
was
time
quick
Jones
passing.
dropped back, they got the ball out quick. And I think that was by
Yeah.
design. They
Right.
don't trust this offense. You know, you watch other teams. You watch the Detroit Lions. I was watching them the other week. Jared Goff's got 6 seconds in the pocket. You watch Jalen Hurts, same thing. We're not afforded that luxury. We don't have an offensive line that can hold up when you only have 5 guys in there staying at the block, that Daniel Jones could scan the field. And I think Dable realizes that, and they game plan around that. And as this team grows and evolves, you'll see a more expanded offense.
Absolutely.
Chris, man, thank you very much. He says, what's both of your guys' favorite Christmas movie?
Oh, it's controversial. Really?
Yeah, it's Christmas movie.
Took my answer. I was gonna say fucking Die
Oh,
Hard.
really?
I was gonna do Die Hard or Home Alone, which
Those are my top 2. I swear to God.
no way.
Swear to God. Number 3 for me is Elf.
I love Elf, man. It's such a good movie.
But Christmas Vacation's up there too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, an underrated Christmas movie that I never mentioned. It's the Nicolas Cage movie. I think is Family Man is a pretty good
That was a good movie. Yep.
I like that one. But my top 3 are Die Hard, Home Alone, and what was the other one I just said?
Elf.
Die Hard, Home Alone, and Elf. And then I also like Gremlins.
Oh, there's no way, dude. Seriously?
You gotta love Gremlins.
That was just in my head. Yeah, but is that technically a Christmas movie though? Would you classify that as a Christmas movie?
I think
that's a tough one.
I think it counts.
That's one of my favorite movies too.
Gremlins is classic.
We really are a lot alike, man. Damn.
How could you
Tommy
not like
and
Gremlins?
Tanner.
Stephen Lilly, man, what's going on, man? Oh God, you look up to Chris. You do know about his dolphin fetish. His accents are truly terrible.
I should have never said that, man.
What'd you say?
I should have never said that, man. Live TV, it gets you. No. What's this dolphin fetish?
It was a joke when I first started on YouTube. I'm not gonna get into it now, but it was a joke when I first started on YouTube. Ruben, man, thank you very much, man. By the way, how is Andrew Thomas not? That's a joke.
Oof, that's a travesty.
That tells you everything that you need to know about the Pro Bowl, though. I mean, what's it? Feliciano's an alternate.
Yep.
And Andrew Thomas didn't make the Pro Bowl. Like,
yeah.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, no.
So, I mean, I'm not like upset because the Pro Bowl means nothing in the grand scheme of things. But at the same time, when your players play well, you want them to get recognized.
Yeah, of course,
for it.
Absolutely.
So hopefully he gets an All-Pro nod. I don't know if he will because he kind of struggled the last couple of games, specifically the game that he was sick. But in the end, he'll be happy. He's going to get a mega contract, whether it be this offseason or next.
Yeah, kid's a stud, man. He's going to have an amazing career for the Giants.
He's going to be here for at least another 10 years. That was Dave Gettleman's best draft pick. No doubt about it. And hopefully
they said Garrett pushed that one, right? I heard.
Supposedly, the one good thing that Jason Garrett did while he was with the New York Giants, but that pick certainly worked out. And I'll tell you another one of Dave's picks that worked out.
What do you think about Neil so far?
Well, we'll see about Neil, but Neil's gonna be fine. I know fans are panicking about Neil. He's a rookie. He's gonna be fine. I just don't know if he's gonna be Andrew Thomas level. Right. But he's gonna be a good starting right tackle for a long time. He's gonna be fine.
And he bounced back last week. Second half, played a lot better.
Yeah, dude. Next year, this offensive line is gonna take a jump because he's gonna be much better.
Yeah.
Thomas is gonna continue to grow. Maybe you get Azudu to grow a bit on the interior. Nick Gates, if he's back for a full year, you're probably gonna draft another interior. This line will be better next year.
Also, McKeithen. Remember we drafted that kid McKeithen. He tore his ACL. Wasn't that in the blue-white scrimmage? When he tore his ACL?
I think so. Yes, I think it was. I know it was in the preseason, and it was not in a game. I think it was. Yes, I think you're right. And he was obviously teammates with Azudu, both at North Carolina. Absolutely. So maybe he'll develop into something. Who knows? But I think they need to continue to draft offensive linemen until they find the right 5. But we're getting there. Michi, thank you very much, man. I know DJ is going to get re-signed, and to me, he is the long-term future. But man, all the negativity about DJ and the fan base could be tired. Listen, I'll be the first to say it. It gets repetitive for me. It happened to me this week. So one of the guy I had on here a couple weeks ago, he mentioned it. He pointed it out. So I make a tweet. where I don't even mention Daniel Jones. It has nothing to do with Daniel Jones. And I said, about Kayvon Thibodeau, how if he didn't play, we would have lost the game by 10 points. And then somebody in the comments says, you mean Daniel Jones didn't carry the team, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah,
blah,
I've
blah.
seen that.
So it just gets tiring. It gets tiring after a while. And listen, at the end of the year, we'll find out. I'm going to tell you right now. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm like 98% sure Daniel Jones is going to be back. And
Me
it's
too.
funny now you're starting to see the experts, Tommy, because you and me been saying this for at least, I don't know how long you've been saying it. I've been saying it for at least 5-6 weeks. Like Daniel Jones is coming back. Now all of a sudden this week, because everybody sees the writing on the wall, Chris Sims come out and says it. Phil Sims comes out and says it. Tiki Barber's coming out and saying it. Pat Shurmur came out and said it. There's been even the guys on like ESPN have come out and said it, that he's gonna be back. Like I think it's pretty obvious at this point. And to me, it's obvious why he needs to come back. We're not in a position to draft a quarterback. We're not picking at the top of the draft, and we're not in a position to be able to give away draft assets to move up and get one.
Right.
Daniel Jones has played well enough to come back, and you have to hope that he could grow even more when he gets more help second year in the offense. He's coming back. Just accept it if you hate the guy. He's coming back.
And listen, I never like to say a player deserves to come back or, he deserves to, we need to pay him back for what he's been through here. But if there was ever a player where you could pay him back by saying, hey, listen, we screwed you over the last couple of years. You're going to get another shot. Here's a 2-year deal. If this works out and you continue to progress, we'll take a look at that deal again. But I agree. Daniel Jones is going to come back, fix the linebacking core, go get your number one receiver, fix that interior offensive line, and Daniel Jones can win some football games.
He's winning football games now.
Exactly.
With no help. So next year, hopefully with more help, I think he's going to be even better. Eric, man, thank you very much, man. Big game tomorrow. Let's go Giants. Let's shock the Vikings fans and win this game. How shocked would you be if we win this game? Would you be shocked?
No, I wouldn't say shocked for a couple of reasons. One, the Vikings pretty much, they're going for the 1 seed, but they already clinched. And another factor here that I was thinking about, they just had the largest comeback in NFL history, right, against Indy. That takes a lot out of you. Yeah, you get the high of it, and you're feeling amazing, and you're feeling exasperated. But, watch for a letdown. And they're playing a Giants team that's hungry, looking to clinch. A Giants team that's been getting healthier, got Bredesen back, obviously, and a Giants team that's coming off of a big win. So, I would look for that letdown. Also, I talked about the schematical stuff earlier. I'm not going to get into that. But when you have a well-coached team, you have a shot to win every Sunday, or in this case, Saturday.
Yeah, I agree. Like next year,
people about the Saturday games, Chris.
What did you say?
How do you feel about Saturday games?
I don't hate Saturday games. I mean, when there's nothing else going on, that's when they have them. When the college football season has nothing else going on, I don't mind Saturday games. I like it. Breaks it up a little bit. I don't mind it. I don't know if I like when the Giants play on Saturday. I think I like the typical Sunday game, but I don't mind the Saturday games. What about you?
Same. I agree. It's a little weird because it's Christmas Eve, and obviously we're playing on New Year's Eve, right? Is it New Year's Eve or day?
I think we play on New Year's Day. New Year's Day right? We play against the Colts. Yeah, New Year's Day.
So it's interesting, but hey, listen, I'm ready.
I was thinking about going to that game, but we'll see what the weather looks like. We'll see what the weather looks like because it's bad right now. It's
freezing, dude. I left work at like 4 o'clock. It was like 50 degrees. I went to the store right before the show. It was like 10 degrees. Literally plummeted right through the ground.
You're in New York or Jersey?
Right now I'm in Connecticut.
Oh, Connecticut. I mean, so I'm sure it's similar where you are. I mean,
I'm like 40 minutes from Manhattan.
Yeah, the weather today was ridiculous. Eric, man, thank you very much, man. Big game tomorrow. Let's go Giants. Let's shock the Vikings fans and win this game.
Yeah.
I think we got a shot, man. It's going to come down to what we always say. Run the ball, get after the quarterback. Talking Eco says you don't have to think DJ is the long-term guy, but you have to respect him for winning with this team. I'm going to be honest with you, Tom. I don't think he's the long-term guy yet.
Yeah.
I don't. I think I am going to go into next year with an open mind like I did this year. I'm going to be honest. I am going to actually evaluate him because there are fans that went into this year with a closed mind and said, no matter what he does, I don't want him back, no matter what. That's not going to be me. Before the year started, I'd be lying if I said that I thought he was going to be back at the end of the year. I didn't. I thought we were going to win 6 or 7 games and we're going to be drafting a quarterback. That didn't happen.
You know what else bothers me about the Jones? So I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What bothers me is when people say, well, this was his prove it year, so we're going to do another prove it year. Well, when you sit back and you say, who were three of his top receivers coming into the season? Shepard, Wandale, Galladay, and Tony, right? Tony's on another team. Wandale, Shepard, torn ACLs. Galladay has been totally non-existent. Quarterback needs his wide receivers to play well. I mean, this is the NFL. This is not high school. You know what I'm saying? And he hasn't had the supporting cast. And you could make comparisons to, Joe Burrow, what he did with his offensive line. But it's really hard pressed to find a great quarterback that has had no receiving core. And this Giants receiving core, I know the Ravens receiving core is pretty bad. This has to be the worst receiving core in the NFL.
I think
Let's just be honest here. Shout out to Slayton, shout out to Hodgins and those guys. No knock on them. They've been busting their tail all year. But come on, dude. I mean, where is the talent? Where's the game breaker? Where's the rack?
Yeah. Listen, the way I look at Jones right now is he still needs to prove a lot more to me, to everybody, to the Giants, not to me, to the Giants, to
Right.
Shane and Dable, to be a long-term quarterback. He still has a lot more growing to do. He still has a lot more to prove. But to me, he has certainly proven he could be a guy here for at least a few more years as you build up this roster. And if he develops into more than that, that's great. You should never want to draft a quarterback because when you draft a quarterback, you're starting over. So I'm hoping he keeps growing. That would be the best case scenario for the New York Giants. You just keep building the roster. But there's a good chance there will come a point where I'm going to be on board with drafting a quarterback. But not this year. Not where we're picking, not with the way Jones has played. He's played good enough to come back to keep building this roster to further support him and his potential replacement down the line. We have so many holes on this roster right now. We got to fill a lot of holes. T, thank you very much. Seeing Wilson last night showed how very hard it is to draft a good quarterback. That ended the DJ debate for sure. The Jets have had 3 quarterbacks they've picked inside the top 5 in like the last 10 years. Brutal. Sanchez, Darnold, and Wilson, all of them failed.
Man, that's a tough. What makes it even more frustrating is they're ready to win now, right? Imagine being a Jets fan right now. You have the defense, the team's ready to win. You had a pretty soft schedule. You stack some early wins up, and you have a quarterback that comes in and people laugh when you say, "Oh yeah, Jones can run a functional offense. He could do what's asked of him. Doesn't do too much. Doesn't turn the ball over." That's the anti-Zach Wilson, right? I mean, he comes in the game and totally sucks the life out of the stadium. And I feel bad for the kid. I don't want to knock him. And, I know he's getting kicked when he's down, but that's a perfect example. And I put on Twitter today, I said, if Daniel Jones was on the Jets this season, I think the Jets have a minimum 10 victories this season. Minimum.
Oh, easy.
Minimum.
Yeah. No doubt about it. The Jets, I don't know if I want to go as far to say they have a Super Bowl roster, but they're pretty close to having a Super Bowl roster. They just don't have the Super Bowl quarterback. They don't even have a starting quarterback on that team right now. Like the fans are clamoring for Mike White. He's not a starting quarterback.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, I agree. And so I forgot who it was. One of the beat reporters today, a couple of the beat reporters suggested, could the Jets look at Daniel Jones?
I've seen that.
I'm going to tell you what, if Jones hit the market, they probably would show interest in Daniel Jones, which is even more of a reason why I don't think the Giants are going to let him at the open market. Because could you imagine the backlash? And I know the fans that don't like Daniel Jones say, well, we don't care. But you're not the only say. Could you imagine the backlash if he goes to the Jets and helps them win a Super Bowl? Because they got a good team right now, Tommy. So I don't think they're not letting Daniel Jones.
I have another good team too. Who does Daniel Jones play his best against in his career?
Washington.
Teams always have that propensity when they go out in free agency to say, you know what? That freaking guy kills us every time we play him. Let's grab. Imagine Jones in the NFC East slinging dimes against the Giants winning games. So he's not going nowhere.
We might tag him and then try to work out a contract. And that's where I think it's headed if we don't take Barkley so that the market doesn't get driven up. Ayub, what's going on? DJ's outlasted Darnold and Zach. Zach, be happy, G-Man. He has. He definitely has. And Biggie, what's going on, man? Picking a quarterback in the draft is so uncertain. Yeah, it's like a 10% hit rate. If you're a first-round quarterback, it's like a 10% hit rate. Look what happened to the Jets with Zach Wilson. Bring back DJ. There's a lot of other quarterbacks you could say, too. And Chris, what's going on, man? Saquon is a player that's screwed over by the previous regime, just like Jones. Complete agreed. He's someone the Giants need to bring back, and not only for his play on the field. Well, he's a leader, no doubt about it.
The face of the team. Let's be honest.
He's fantastic. I hope he's back. I think he will be. But I'm less sure he'll be back than Jones because He's a running back at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's a short shelf life position. I'm leaning he's going to be back, but he's gonna have to cooperate a little bit. The Giants are not going to give him $16-17 million a year. I don't see it. I don't even if he
No.
may deserve that. I don't think the Giants are going to do that. I don't think they're giving him that kind of money. So
I'll be
I'm
honest.
praying he's back because I love Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, listen, I'll be honest. I love Saquon. He's the face of the team. Remarkable performance this season. He's put the team on his back. Giants are nowhere near 8 wins without Saquon Barkley. My heart tells me yes. The mind tells me no.
Yeah.
That's just kind of where I'm at with it. I'm definitely leaning towards having him back. But when you go in an offseason, quarterbacks, needed a contract, running back, you got Julian Love, right? You got Dexter Lawrence. He's under contract, but you want to lock him up long term. Several players on the Giants next offseason. So it's gonna be tough.
And then the other thing that may work in the Giants' favor regarding Barkley, the running back free agency market is loaded.
Right.
So they could use that as leverage against Barkley from a negotiation standpoint. They could say, well, Saquon, we love you, but I could sign Tony Pollard for $9 million a year, $8 million a year. We can't give you 16. We can't give you 15. So maybe they get him back cheaper than some fans may. Maybe we get him for $11 million a year for 3 years. I don't know. I love to have him back, but I think it has to make sense.
Yep.
Samuel, what's going on, man? He says, my girlfriend is a big Vikings fan, so I've wanted my fair share of Vikings games. Got to say, I low-key like them, but I'm talking trash for their whole family. Samuel, I'll tell you what, outside of the one game where we blew them out in 2000, the championship game, where we made the Super Bowl, it seems like we always struggle against the Vikings.
Can't stand playing them, dude. What about the other playoff game where we choked in the fourth quarter? I can't remember the year.
97.
97. Yeah. We started fighting each other on the sidelines. It was snowing, drop balls. You had the Eli Manning 4 interception. Feels like he had like 3 or 4 interception games against Minnesota, whether it was Sharper or whoever. I hate playing the Vikings, dude. It's one of those teams where I just don't like playing them.
Matter of fact, I'm going to look at our history against them. I know it's recently, at least, it's not good.
I actually looked it up for my show. We've lost the last 3, and I believe it's 17-12. Vikings lead 17-12 all time, excluding playoffs.
17-12. They've won the last 3. They've won the last 7 out of 9.
Wow.
So yeah, we haven't beaten them since 2013. They beat us 49-17 in 2015. They beat us 24-10 in 2016, and they beat us 28-10 Daniel Jones rookie year in 2019. So
Giants are due, baby. We're due for one.
We're due. We have not fared well against the Minnesota Vikings historically. No. But let's hope we pick them off this week, Tommy.
Keep talking trash, Samuel. Keep talking that smack, baby.
Let's go. Let me get. By the way, do you go to the Giant games, Tommy?
Yeah. I've been to 2 this year. I went to the home opener. Got to hang out with Mr. Hefe for a little bit. Got to hang out with Justin for a little bit. And then I was also at the Ravens game. So I try to get there as much as I can. It's tough. You know how it is balancing everything. I would like to go to the Indy game because that's probably the last home game of the season. So I would like to go to the Indy game. Maybe we could go.
Yeah, I want to go. A lot of it's going to come down to weather. Like if the weather's like brutal, I might just we'll see. But if it's bearable, I think especially if it's for the playoffs. Like because if we lose this week, that game is going to be for the playoffs.
Right.
I think I want to go. I want to go. I went to the Texans game this year. They won that. I went to the Eagles game last year, which was our best game of the year. Yeah. Where I think we had like 5 turnovers created against the Eagles.
That was the Hurts game, right? Where he threw a few picks.
Yeah. So, I think I want to go to that Colts game. I think I do. Ruben, what's going on? One of the best weeks of my life in 2000. Went to the playoff game against the Eagles, the Jason Sehorn play. Went to Vegas, then went to the Vikings game. Wow.
Damn, Rube.
You must have the time of your life, man. That Jason Sehorn play, that has to go down as one of the top, 10 plays of Giants history?
Absolutely. Stumbling, tumbling, fumbling, and he picks it off and returns it. Also, Ron Dixon. Shout out Ron Dixon, right? He had a return in that game.
First play of the game.
First play of the game and had a return touchdown in the Super Bowl, I believe.
Yep.
So, shout out Ron Dixon.
And then they answered right back with a touchdown of their own.
That sucked, dude. Remember the holding on defensive holding on a defensive tackle on Jesse Armstead's pick 6 wiped off the board in that Super Bowl, dude. I'll never forget that.
That was horrible. Big Daddy, what's going on, man? I remember when Tarkenton was quarterback for both teams. Yeah, Big
Wow.
Daddy goes way back.
Damn, Big Daddy.
Yeah, but Tarkenton, all-time great Minnesota Viking, and of course with the Giants as well. Abe, what's going on, man? Put on your GM cap. All right. I don't have another cap, but I'll pretend this is my GM.
That works.
We're in free agency. Do you go and go and outside of Quan and DJ? Where do you go? Where do you go in free agency outside of those two?
That's a good question.
And who's your top priority and your favorite prospect in the draft? Merry Christmas, bro. I appreciate it. It's early to talk about the draft because I don't know where these guys are going to be going. It's very hard for me to talk about the draft right now. I don't know our exact pick. I don't know what we're going to do in free agency. There's a couple wide receivers I like. I mean, I love the kid out of TCU, but I don't think he's dropping us.
No.
I love Hyatt too. I think he could be a good pro. I love Addison out of USC. He's a good wide receiver prospect. So those are some names as far as the draft goes. Free agency, I'm gonna tell you the deal I'm giving Daniel Jones. If I'm Joe Shane, if I'm the GM, if I get to play GM for a day, I go to him because I don't want to tag him. Because if you tag him, you can't move any money around. That's $29 million or whatever it is, $30 million against the cap, locked up that you can't move around. I go to Jones. I say, I'm going to give you 4 years, $100 million, and I'm going to make it so I could get out after 2 years. I'm not. It's going to be a very small dead cap after 2 years. So I'm giving you a 2-year commitment. This is
incentive laden. Throwing a ton of incentives for him.
Ton of incentives. And if I make it a 4-year deal instead of a 3, it gives you more ability to space out the money so you can free up cap space those first 2 years. That's what I do. I go to him with a deal like that it's essentially a 2-year deal. It's 4 years so I could space out the money, move money around. I'm giving you a 2-year commitment. And if things go sideways or south next year, I could still draft a quarterback, even if he's still on the roster and I can't move off of him. He could be the starter to start the year, and maybe eventually I go on to the rookie. Or if he continues to grow, I ride with you throughout the contract. So that's the approach I would take with Daniel Jones. As far as Saquon Barkley goes, I try to come to an agreement with him. He's obviously a vital piece of this team. He's a face of the franchise. He's a great locker room guy. I understand he's a running back. I understand he's had an injury history. So that has to be factored in. I also understand I didn't draft the guy. It was the prior GM. That has to be factored in. But he's a very important member of this football team. I try to come to an agreement with Saquon Barkley, but I do not go as high as I once said I would have. I don't. I don't. I think it's in the ballpark of 3 years, $35 million. I don't think I exceed more than $11 or $12 million a year for Saquon Barkley because there's just too many holes on this team. And I structure the deal where I could get it after 2 years. That's, I think, my limits for Barkley. And if I'm being honest with you, I don't think Barkley's going to like that deal. No. So we may end up having to tag Barkley. I don't think we're just going to let him walk.
Yeah, I think we tag him. I think the tag's like 10 mil. I think we tag Barkley and make him do it again, which might not be fair, but it's business. It is what it is. Free agency wise, I think I'm leaning towards locking Love up. I think Love has done a really good job this season. Great tackler, very disciplined out there. I'm not sure what his deal would look like, but I would like to bring Love back. And then sexy Dexy, man, lock him down. Don't let him go. Do not let him get to free agency, man. He's a stud.
Oh, you got to extend. You got to extend Dexter Lawrence, and they will. That's obvious. That's easy. And same thing with Andrew Thomas. He'll be extended too. Love to me is an interesting one. I don't know. I think it's more likely he's back though. At the beginning of the year, I would have been like, I'd be surprised.
Right, me too.
Because we have so many free agents, but he's played well. He's a captain. He's well respected, and he's still young. So it's not like the Logan Ryan deal where I thought they shouldn't have signed him because he was older and he had a similar role in the locker room. He's young. He's still growing as a prospect. The other thing that may help him coming back, is it possible, and I hope this isn't the case, I think he's a really good player, they soured a little bit on McKinney. Because my question to you, Tommy, is how much are you going to dedicate to the safety position? Like, if they plan to bring McKinney back, you're going to pay Julian Love $10 million, $11 million a year with having to pay McKinney as well.
Right.
So that's the biggest question I have is how much money are you going to dedicate to that position?
Right. And that's a great point because look all around the defense, right? When you go to the defensive line, Leo's making a massive amount of money next year. He's probably not going to be back after that. I think he will be back next year. I don't think they're going to play any games with Leo. But you're going to have Leo. If you want to bring him back again the year after, that's big money. Dexy's going to get big money. You got Aziz and Thibodeau. Their deals are not here yet, but eventually down the line, that's going to be big money, right? So you have to spread that out. And I don't think the Giants will devote that much money to the safety position. I mean, look, Pinnock has played pretty good this season, right, in spurts. Jefferson, when he's been healthy, has played okay. I think you could get by more than enough with one stud safety and one serviceable safety. So that's a great point. Maybe they say to Love, hey, thanks for your service, test free agency, and come back if you don't like what you see.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to his market. I don't. Obviously, they're not going to be able to tag him because you got Barkley and Jones. I think they're going to use the tag on one of them, at least from a negotiation standpoint. They may not start the year on the tag, so you're not going to be able to tag him. So unless he's willing to come back here on what is probably going to be viewed as below his market value, he's going to at least be able to test free agency. And if a team is willing to give him a contract, like say the Packers gave Adrian Amos 3 or 4 years ago, he's gone because the Giants aren't going to be able to pay him that kind of money. So I think it's going to come down to his market. If he has a decent sized market, I'd love to have him back. But if he's going to be paid as one of the top 3 or 4 highest paid safeties in football, if you want to bring back McKinney, how are you going to pay Love?
I will say they did go to Love with contract extension talks. Yeah, last month they had some preliminary talks. So I don't think it would be a big contract for him. Let's be honest. Statistically, he's not a big, numbers safety, so to speak. He's kind of, solid at everything, but not great at.
I like him, but
I love the kid. I love him, but that's a great point, man. I don't know if you got to distribute those assets, man. It's not easy. It's not easy being a GM.
Yeah, and listen, the safeties. It's kind of it's the argument that the same argument that people make for the running back position, you can make for the safety position.
Absolutely.
There's a reason that safeties don't typically go very high in drafts, right? Yep. Because it's not viewed as the most important piece of a defense.
Right.
So you're going to allocate a ton of money to 2 safeties, and I don't know. I don't know if Joe Shane's going to do that. And Jake, man, thank you very much. He says, it's going to be in the mid-50s with rain showers on the first. You'll be fine. I'll be there. I'll be there.
That's a nice day, man.
That's what it is. I'll be there.
For January, mid-50s? Are you kidding me?
I'll be there if it's mid-50s. I'm going to wait until a couple of days before the game, but if that's what the projected weather is going to be, I'll be there. Ruben, man, thank you very much. He says, do you spread Leo's money? I've been saying that for months. I said that before the year started, that I think they have to. If Leo is willing to do that, he's due $32 million against the cap next year.
Yeah.
I think Leo is still a very good player.
Yeah.
If he's willing to negotiate, I don't know what the key with Leo is. I don't know what his market is because he's a bit older now, but the market goes up. So what was his contract? What was it, about $21, $22 million a year on average? We just backloaded the salary.
Yeah, 22. Yep.
So 22. If he's willing to sign for about $20 million a year on average on an extension for 3 years, and I could spread out that $32 million and set it up in a way I could get out after say 2025-ish, I would do that because it could free up 10, 11, 12 million dollars on this year's salary cap, and the market only goes up. So if he's 20, 22, $23 million against the cap in 2024, it's not that bad. The salary cap's going to be like $250 million.
Pushing up. And he's a perfect candidate too. He's still has a lot of juice left in his career. Tough, dependable, doesn't get hurt often. I know he got hurt this year. He's a leader on the football team. He makes plays. He makes Dexter better. He's a perfect candidate. If you want to kick the can down the road, perfect candidate.
Yeah, I think that's the guy you do it for.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he's a lot better than a lot of fans give him credit for. So I'd like to have Leonard Williams here long term if they could. At least, I don't want to even use the term long term, but at least for another 2 years. And if you could extend him and structure a contract in a way that it gives you the freedom to get out of it 2 years down the line, if you feel like you need to move on at that point, great. But if he's willing to negotiate and get a bit of an extension so you can free up some cap space this year, I think it's something the Giants should look into. John, what's going on, man? Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Vikings planning a whiteout tomorrow, asking fans to wear all white. Wish we had black jerseys.
Black jerseys.
We did the whiteout this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which it had that Penn State does that, right? It had that Penn State vibe to it. That looked cool. What was that, the Thursday night game?
Yes.
Yeah. Or what? No, it wasn't. No, it was a Monday night game. It was a Monday night game.
It was Dallas, right?
Yeah, Dallas early in the year, Monday night. But that looked cool, man. That looked like a lot of fun.
Awesome. I love the color rush jerseys.
Yeah. And MY Giants 26 says Buffalo did keep their 2 safeties, but both better. I'm not saying they won't, but I think it comes down to Julian Love's market because I have to think they prioritize McKinney above him.
Right. Unless, like you said, maybe they,
maybe they want to sour on him. I don't know.
We don't know internally. I wasn't good. I'll tell you that. I don't want to beat on the kid because, listen, they're young kids. They go on vacation. Would have rather him do it after the season. But you don't know how that plays out behind the scenes. That was a big loss.
Yeah, listen, we can't judge these players based off of what the prior GM thought of, right? And Kadarius Toney's a perfect example of that. Going into the year, everybody's like, well, KT is going to be the number one wide receiver on this team. He never saw the field.
Yep.
Giants were looking to trade him all along. So we don't know how they evaluate all the players on this roster. I hope not. I like McKinney. I think McKinney should be part of the future, but there's no guarantees. We don't know.
Nope.
We don't know. And I'm good to see Afghanistan, man. What's going on, man? Jacob says, Tana and Tommy, what's up, brothers? Would you guys extend? Yeah, we just talked about that. Would you extend Julian Love? He's had a pretty good year for us. I would go. It depends on what his market is for me. I'm not going to just blindly extend him because we have a lot of other players.
Make it work. You make it work.
If you can make it work, you make it work. Yeah, exactly. Depends on his market.
I don't think it's do or die.
Yeah. Let's see what we got. Jacob says, Tana. I just read that. Let's see. You draft a wide receiver and pick one up in free. Well, they're going to have to do that.
Shit, you might have to do both.
Yeah, they're going to have to do both.
Seriously.
Well, I mean, right now, our receiving core going into next year is Wan'Dale Robinson. You're not going to bring back every depth wide receiver.
No.
So maybe you bring back two of them.
Right.
Maybe a guy like Richie James, maybe a guy like a couple.
Hodgins.
Yeah, Hodgins. But they're not going to bring back all of them. They need to fill some holes. So I think they're going to draft a wide receiver. They might even draft two. Yeah. And I definitely think they're going to probably sign a wide receiver. So I think that's what we're looking at in the offseason for sure.
Absolutely.
Let's see what we got. Nick's about to lose. Yeah, I'm going to start doing the Knicks games after the Giants season, but I'm obviously not watching the Knicks game tonight. But I know they lost their last game, and looks like they're going to drop 2 straight according to the chat. Mike says Lions at Giants NFC. I don't know about all that. I don't know about all that. That'd be
Mike's a good dude too, but Mike, you're wilding out on that one, man. I don't know about that one.
I got a take about the Lions though. I think right now the Lions are the third best team in the NFC.
That's a scary team, dude, in the playoffs to play. That's a scary team, man.
Because they've got the line.
Yeah,
they've got one of the best lines in football, and they've got a pass rush.
Yeah.
With Hutchinson, right? He's getting better over the course of the year. They're dangerous because when you can win up at the point of attack, after the Eagles, their line's probably on par with the Eagles' line.
Right.
You can win up at the point of attack. You could establish the run. They're a dangerous team. They're a dangerous team.
Look at Jared Goff, right?
Yeah.
He's going out there winning games for them, man. And he's someone that, people are like, he doesn't have a high ceiling, can't really win too much with him. Look, he goes out there every Sunday again, doesn't turn the ball over, plays clean football, plays within the system. I actually see some parallels between him and DJ, honestly.
In terms of their play?
Yeah. Well, in terms of, when you look at a quarterback and you say, well, his ceiling is capped.
Okay.
He's only going to take you so far. We need Patrick Mahomes. Well, you don't need that. It's great to have it. Of course you want Patrick Mahomes slinging his sidearm behind his back 40 yards. Of course you do. But you can have quarterbacks that play within the system, make plays when their number's called. And I think Goff has done a really good job with that.
Goff's had a great year.
Really great year.
Job. That helped. And I think he's a perfect example of a quarterback that got better second year in an offense.
Yep.
And a quarterback that has everything you could possibly need.
Yeah, Amon St. Brown, awesome wide receiver 1.
Yeah, and the line that they got there.
The line is phenomenal.
So, and they got some talented running back. Like he's got a really good supporting cast. But I think the biggest reason why he's jumped up this year as opposed to last year, he's more familiar in the offense. It's his second year in the offense. So I would hope that Daniel Jones could take a leap like that next year if we bring him back. Let's see. Only way the Giants could host a playoff game is if they host the 7th seed in the NFC Championship. Let's just win one playoff game. Like I'm not. Let's make the playoffs. Like I don't even want to think about. Let's make the playoffs.
You know what, Chris? I'll take this any day of the week over the last 6 years. Mock drafts already going crazy. Free agency trackers in November. I'd much rather this than going crazy on the other end. I'm so happy that we're playing meaningful football, man. It's great to have the pie in the sky. And I would love to kick Detroit's ass again, man. They whooped us.
Oh, that was our second worst game of the year outside of the Eagles.
I would love it.
Yeah. And Desmond says, hey, I believe we can win the Vikings game. Detroit improved a lot this year. They definitely did. Detroit, to me, right now, is like I said, I think they're better than the Cowboys right now, the way that they're playing. They're good. Team. And, hey, man, thank you very much, man. Galladay will be cut I agree, to pay for the draft. It'll cost half as much to do so. Expect it to happen right away. It'll be a $7 million savings. I see Love around $3. Well, Love's only $3 to $4 million. He's coming back.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's all he's going to be, but if that he's coming back, if that's what he is, the post June 1st cut. Now that money doesn't evaporate. $7 million goes towards next year's cap, but you could split it when you do it post June 1st. So
right.
I think that's what they will do because it's going to help them, like Abe just said, pay for the draft. And they're not. I don't think they're going to be in a rush to sign any high profile free agents this year. I just don't. I think they're going to make smart, cost effective signings. But I think obviously the bulk of their money, Tom, is going to be on the guys that are currently on this roster.
Right.
The Joneses, the Barkleys, the Slaytons, the Loves. Like we have a lot of free agents this year, so that's where I think the bulk of the free agency money.
The Galladay thing is interesting, man. You see what's going on now. They trot him out there for a couple of snaps, take him right back off the field. Don't throw him the ball. It's almost like the team and him have like this mutual understanding of, hey, listen, this didn't work out. This is over. We'll trot you out there so people know you're healthy and you're in the game. But there is just no concerted effort to get him involved in the game plan at all.
That's the way it's been. That's the way it's been all year with him.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's just like a dog and pony show when he goes out there.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I feel a little bad for him. Well, I don't feel that bad for him. He got paid $72 million. Right. But whatever. We all know what's coming with Galladay. He'll be off the team by next year. But how many? What does he have? 4 catches all year?
Yeah, right. Is that all it was?
I think he's got 10 targets. He's got 4 drops, and he's got 4 catches. Wow. What a we're signing Giants history.
Oh, easily.
I think it is. Like you can make arguments, I guess, for other players, but
Nate Solder's the other one. But you know what? Nate Solder at least started games, went out there, played. The guy played hurt, fought through cancer. Not to take away from his bad performance. I know you separate those two, but if you want to talk about the worst signing, easily Kenny Galladay. I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau has more touchdowns than him in his career.
Yeah, and then you got who was the other? We had a really bad offensive lining signing under Reese. Schwartz, yeah, he didn't work out very well. No, that was a bad one. But
I thought he was too. I was disappointed with that.
Yeah, but I think Galladay goes down as probably the worst. Probably the worst.
I was so happy when we got him too. I'm not going to be one of these revisionists. I mean, I remember that day on Twitter hitting that refresh button every 10 seconds. I thought he was going to be a big key for Jones, man. So disappointed in that.
Yeah, and I want to say a little Authentic. What's going on, Authentic, man? Just saw him in the chat. I guess in comparison to Jones, except Goff was in a Super Bowl. Yeah, that's true. But what did Goff have? I mean, Goff had a pretty good team, right?
Yeah, pretty good.
Nick Vay kind of helped, right? Gurley kind of helped, right? I mean,
that was a really good team.
That kind of helped a bit. They had a great, and obviously the best defensive player in football with Aaron Donald, and they had a team over there. Christy says, should we give Slayton Galladay's contract? Too bad it doesn't work that way. Yeah, too bad. I'd rather give Hodgins that contract. Like,
I never heard that one before.
Richie James deserves that money more.
Yeah, sure, give it to everybody.
Let's see. Would Jones agree to a contract like that, Tana? Don't think he would want an opt-out. That's the way contracts work, Jacob. That's standard procedure in the NFL. It's not, I guess it's not called an opt-out, but unless you're, a franchise quarterback, like a Josh Allen, a Pat Mahomes, every quarterback, when they sign a 4-year deal, the team is going to organize it so they can get out after 2 years. It's just the way it works. So it's not like it's specific to Jones. Most teams do that. Derek Carr signed a contract this year where they had a 1-year out. I'm not even suggesting doing that. I'm suggesting a 2-year out. Because if I'm Daniel Jones, if I'm being honest with you, Tommy, if the Giants come to me with a contract structured in a similar fashion to Carr's, I just say, no, just tag me. I'll play in the tag.
Yeah. Gamble on yourself. Roll the dice.
I'll take the $30 million guaranteed, and then I'll become a free agent next year. So I think the only way they're going to be able to sign Jones and not use the tag is if they give him a 2-year commitment. So that's why I said 4-year deal, 2-year commitment. I
think he would take that deal.
That's why I think I don't think you get more than that. I think that's kind of what his market is. I think you can get that from somebody. I think a team like the Jets or somebody, I don't know the cap situations for every team around the league. There'd be a team that'll give him a 4-year deal with a 2-year out, but I don't think you get more than that. So in the end, if we don't use the tag, I think we're looking at something like that.
Yep.
Let's see, bro. What happened to the Jets? Their quarterback. Their quarterback's a mess. Yeah, I mean, Zach Wilson was a complete disaster, man.
Awful. That's sad, man. That's a sad situation. And I always tend to root for the Jets just because they're local. They've been through hell and back also. It
I
was
like the
nice to
Jets. I say it all the time. I got nothing against the Jets.
Yeah, and it was nice for Jets and Giants to both be winning, right, this season and that winning feeling. But Zach is the perfect example of just cannot run an offense, doesn't have any pocket presence, struggles with accuracy. I was listening on the radio today, and they were talking about his last year in BYU. His biggest game of his career was against, I believe, Coastal Carolina, and he was exactly the same as he's been on the Jets, missing short to intermediate passes, couldn't get the ball deep, struggled with pressure. Didn't feel the pressure. You seen that, in the game last night. He gets hit. The Ed comes right in on the corner, just gets blasted. Never even seen him. So I think he's a perfect example, man. And I was talking about it today, but it wasn't to toot Jones' horn because Jones has plenty of opportunities. Plenty. No one's sitting here saying Jones is a Pro Bowl quarterback and he needs a long-term deal and let's give him 30 minutes. Nobody's saying that. But what we are saying is that he can run a functional offense. Yeah, the passing game is bottom 5 in the NFL, but it doesn't produce turnovers. It's getting marginally better little by little, and the Giants can win with him. The Jets can't win with Zach Wilson, and that's what really bad quarterback play will do.
Yeah, and we think, maybe other fans don't, that he could look like a much better quarterback if he had the help the Jets have. I think he'd look better. You give him Garrett Wilson?
Yeah, absolutely.
Garrett Wilson is far and away our best wide receiver. You go out and get him. Like, when he comes back next year, we'll see what he looks like when he has more help and he's second year in an offense, right? You're talking about a kid now that has his 4th offensive play caller in 4 years, his 3rd offensive scheme in 4 years. Like you said, I'm not claiming the guy's going to be an elite quarterback. Definitely not. But I think he'd be a good one. Matter of fact, I think he already is a good one. He's a good quarterback. And hopefully he can develop into more than that. But I think the Giants, if they bring him back next year, they know they have a good quarterback. They have a quarterback that can win football games. They have a quarterback that is not going to lose them games, that can make plays when they need to be made. That's what he's demonstrated this year with very little help. So that's what I think about Daniel Jones right now.
Same.
Big Daddy says, I think Kenny Golladay is hurt, never healed from his hip. I agree. He's damaged goods.
He's a big stiff, man. He's stiff out there. You see him, doesn't get separation. And, another funny thing is when people say, well, he was a great receiver before he played with Daniel Jones. Kenny Golladay was always a 50-50 catch guy. You fast forward 3 years later, a massive hip surgery later, that takes a toll, man. And you could see it out there. He's plodding when he's running. He's not quick. He's not getting out of his breaks. You think this coaching staff doesn't want to use him for personal reasons? Or come on. I mean, they're desperate for big play wide receivers. Like, he's just done. He's cooked. He's not going to play for another
He got
NFL
beat
team.
out by David frickin' Sills.
Yeah, he's done.
He was going to get beat up by Colin Johnson, too. And I'm going to tell you what, Tommy, if Colin Johnson never gets hurt, Darius Slayton might not have made this team.
Yeah, I agree. He took the pay cut.
Because you heard Dable come out and say before the season started that Sills and Colin Johnson were not only going to make the team, they were going to get playing time. Golladay was going to make the team simply because of his contract. It was going to cost more to cut him. Tony was going to make the team. Shepard was going to make the team. James was going to make the team. I think Slayton would have been on the outside looking in. But and a lot of it had to do with his salary, like you said. But if Colin Johnson never goes down, I don't think Darius Slayton's a part of this team this year.
That was disappointing. I think he would have had a good season, Colin Johnson. I think he would have been a factor.
I like Colin Johnson.
Me too.
I went to 2 of the training camp practices, and I said it. You're there. You give out tweets, and usually you want to tweet about the Daniel Joneses, the Saquon Barkleys, and I did. But one guy that I mentioned both times I went there was Colin Johnson because he impressed me. He looked really good in the training camps when I went. He was making a number of really good catches. And hopefully we give him another shot next year because I like him. He's tall. He's got potential.
Yeah, man.
I'd like him back here next year.
I was disappointed.
Good. If you got to go, by the way, let me know, man.
I'll hang out for another 20 minutes. We'll hang out to 10:30. Yeah.
Sounds good, man. Tuto. Massive salute days to the rest of you. Tana, Tommy G, Authentic, and all diehard fans in the house. Happy holidays, everyone. Merry Christmas, and God bless everyone. Thank you, Tuto, man. We appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you, Tuto.
Merry Christmas to you, too.
Tuto's everywhere, too.
Jack's laughing. He says, nobody said he's elite. I love when fans put words in our mouths. Nobody said he's elite.
We literally just said the opposite.
I literally said he's not elite. But I think that's where this fan base has gotten when it comes to people that don't they hate. Well, I don't even want to use the word hate. Hate's a strong word. They don't want Daniel Jones to be the quarterback going forward. So whenever you say something positive about the guy, but it's not an extreme positive. I think it's a realistic positive. People take it to extremes. They say, you said DJ's elite. No,
Right.
none of us said DJ's elite. No, most people do not think DJ's elite. I think he has grown to be a good quarterback. I think there's 4 or 5 elite quarterbacks in the league. He's not one of them. Neither is Dak Prescott. Neither is Kirk Cousins. Neither is a lot of good quarterbacks in the league. I think he could get – I think he's close to that tier already. I just don't think he has the support system.
Agree.
But I don't think he'll ever be elite. But that's not a knock. Elite,
Right.
They're elite for a reason. They're
Right.
very hard to find. You're lucky if there's one of those guys in a draft. And there's usually 4 quarterbacks to go in the first round. So good luck finding them. So that's my outlook on it. I'm not going to force a quarterback pick.
And it's situational too, like you said. We don't have not going to have a top pick to grab one of the top 2 quarterbacks. Tons of holes. This roster is not going to be a win now roster even next season. It's going to be a lot better. So you got to look at the situation as a whole also. And he's not bad enough to where you have to force a move there, because forcing a move at quarterback could hurt you more than anything, honestly. And we've seen that all over the league. Forcing money on a quarterback, forcing a draft pick on a quarterback. It is what it is.
Listen, going into the year, John Mara said what he said about Daniel Jones, but a more important thing, in my opinion, he said regarding the quarterback situation right now for the New York Giants, he said that they did everything they possibly could to fail Daniel Jones. If we trade up for a quarterback in this year's draft, aren't we doing the same thing?
Yep.
Aren't we doing the same thing? If you're surrendering future draft capital and you're moving up to get a quarterback in this year's draft, with the current roster that we have, what are you providing them with?
Right.
What are you providing them with?
But I don't think that was the case at the trade deadline. I think the case of not getting a receiver at the trade deadline was just the market was ridiculous. Half the receivers never even got traded by the deadline. The other half got ridiculously overcompensated and did nothing anyways. So when people say, well, Joe Schoen, he didn't get him his receiver, so that's the writing on the wall. He didn't get him his help. No, it was just a bad market. And Joe Schoen, from what we've seen so far here in Buffalo, he's not going to throw money out of a window. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. And Big Daddy says, went through it with Sims and Eli, DJ will prevail. I hope he does. I would like nothing more than that to not have a quarterback for the next 10 years. That'd be great. Because that means we're winning. Because that's the only way Daniel Jones, inevitably, that's the only way Daniel Jones is going to stay here for more than a couple more years. We're going to have to keep winning and competing and making the playoffs and having an opportunity to win Super Bowls. So I pray that happens, Big Daddy. And I think it's possible. If you would ask me at the beginning of the year, I would have said it. I never say anything's impossible, but I would have said it's very close to impossible. I'm not saying it's likely. I'm still not there. But I could at least see it being possible now. Reasonably possible that he could grow as a quarterback and at least be here for another 3 or 4 years. That's my outlook right now on Daniel Jones. It's possible.
What do you need to see, Chris?
Well, obviously next year, when he's back, for all the people in the chat that say he's not going to be, he's going to be, in my opinion.
He's coming back.
I'm wrong. I'll have an egg on my face. I think he's going to be back. When he's back, you have to figure the New York Giants are going to try to help him. They're going to go out there. They're going to add weapons. This has to look like a much better offense next year.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's got to look like the Chiefs, but I need to start to see this offense become more aggressive. I need to see this offense become more explosive and not so much dink and dunk. But we need the necessary pieces in order to do that. So if you get them a couple of weapons next year, I need to start to see them open up this offense. I don't expect it to be a run and gun yet because I don't think we're going to be developed enough. A rookie wide receiver is only going to take you so far. Right. Now, maybe we trade for an established veteran. I don't know. Maybe this offensive line gets better, but I need to see this offense open up somewhat next year. And if it does, and we keep winning, you win 10 games, Jones gets somewhat better, you roll him out again. You just keep improving the team. And then the team gets to a point, if you keep winning, that you come to a cross in the road. If we get to a point where we identify ourselves as having that Super Bowl roster, which we clearly do not have right now, and we identify that Jones is not going to be the guy that could put us over the top at that point, if you even get to that point, if the team is winning games along the way, like the Chiefs were with Smith, like the Rams were with Goff, then you make your move. Now, if the team loses games next year, you move on.
Right.
You draft a quarterback. But if the team keeps winning, you win 10 games, you win 11 games, but you identify in 3 years or so, while you're winning along the way, as you're building up this team, that Jones is not going to be the guy that could get you that Lombardi trophy, you do everything in your power to go out and get an improvement at the quarterback position. That's what I think the next 2 or 3 years are about if this team keeps winning football games.
I think that's a good point. When people talk about Jones and, what differentiates him from some of the quarterbacks that are in the bottom, 5 percentile, he's good enough right now to where you could keep your strategy, whatever you want to do. You can keep, you don't have to reach. You don't have to blow things up. You don't have to trade assets for a quarterback. You don't have to reach for a rookie. He's good enough to say, hey, you know what? We like that young guy. Not going to take him. We're going to stick with what we have, build around him. And that's because DJ's going out and not turning the ball over, winning football games, playing discipline, playing smart football. By all accounts, his teammates love playing for him. Look what Kayvon Thibodeau said about him, Sunday night after the game. He said, that's our effing leader. That's our guy we ride with. He's playing better every single game. So I think that tells you what Jones is right there. Right now, as he's growing, he's good enough for the team to say, hey, you know what? We might be able to just build around this until we get the exact quarterback we want. If and when he comes along, maybe that's 2024, and maybe it works out that way. But I think that's a good problem to have, because if Jones,
it's a great problem to have.
Yeah, because if Jones would have came out this season and he has 20 interceptions, he's fumbling all over.
You're moving on.
Fans are on fire. Forget you have to blow it up and get a quarterback.
I'm gonna tell you what, Tommy. And I know fans don't see it this way that don't like Daniel Jones. If they keep Jones, this worked out perfectly this year, because now you're not going to end up, and I would say there's at least an 80% chance we're going to draft a quarterback within the next 2 or 3 years.
Yep, I agree.
And maybe and that 80 to 85% chance in my head might change to 50% by the end of next year if I see more growth. But right now, that's the way I feel. Okay? But when you make that move at the quarterback position, he's not going to come into an atrocious situation.
Right.
Had Daniel Jones gone out there and fumbled all year, we won 3 or 4 games, you would have been drafting a quarterback, much like the New York Jets did when they took Zach Wilson, and he'd be coming into a situation from hell.
Exactly.
Now you could build up the team. Like, this to me is ideal, and I know some fans don't see it that way. If you could sign Daniel Jones on a short-term commitment and keep building this team up, you're inevitably going to set his replacement up, if that's the route you end up going in a couple of years, up for a much better chance of success than you ever set Daniel Jones up for. And that should be the game plan. Setting this guy up to be able to succeed early on in his career so he becomes your franchise quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's, in my opinion, what the goal should be. Not thrusting him into a situation like the New York Giants currently have. Big Daddy says went through it with, I just read that. But let's get to a couple of these here. And thank you to everybody for being here, by the way. Anybody that may just be tuning in, hope you guys are having a happy holiday. Appreciate all you guys. Check out Tommy's channel, Tommy's Takes, Giants Country. Go over there, check him out. Great guy. Excited to have him on. Definitely got to do more of this with you, especially during the offseason. There'll be plenty to talk about with free agency, the draft. Would love to have you on. Desmond.
To everybody that subscribed already. I already got a bunch. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Oh, you did? How many you got?
Yeah, we've got 30 new subscribers already.
Let's get them 30 more. So. Let's get them 30 more.
And
drop his link in the chat.
We're working on it. The show is going to definitely be improved. This first year, first run, working with Patricia Trainer. Obviously, she's super busy. She is amazing to work with. So the show is definitely going to get much better as we go along here. But thank you, everybody. It means a lot to me.
And Patricia Trainer is awesome, by the way.
She's amazing.
I do a weekly show with her. She's really nice. And she tells you a couple things behind the scenes. It's cool. It's cool to have. I'll tell you a really cool story she told me. I don't know if I told you. So I'm doing the show with her like a month ago, whatever it was, on her channel. And as soon as the show's over, I think I asked her a question about, how it's like to talk to players. I don't remember how the conversation came about. But she goes, the other day, I'm in the locker room, and Nick Gates comes up to me. And he mentions that he watches my YouTube channel. And I go, oh, that's cool. Because she's really close with Nick Gates. She always says that's her favorite player on the team. And she and he comes up to her and he goes, yeah, but watch your YouTube channel. Who's that guy you had on? And Patricia's like, I think she had like a beat reporter from the opposition that week, and that's who she thought that he was talking about.
Right.
And then he's like, no, the other guy. And she goes, who? And she didn't know who he was talking about. And then he goes, the guy that you did the Giants show with. And he was talking about me. And Patricia Rennie goes, oh, you mean Tana? He goes, that guy knows his shit. And when she told me that, I'm like, wow, like that's the ultimate compliment when
That's awesome, dude.
when a player on the New York Giants. So that's just cool. But it's awesome to be able to work with her. And she's really cool. Like she reaches out to content creators, really nice. You don't always see that from members of the media.
No, she gave me a chance. I was up and coming. I'd only been doing content for a few months, so shout out Patty. She's amazing.
But let's get Desmond. Thank you very much. When Eli was playing, the Giants only had him starting. Meanwhile, the Jets had multiple quarterbacks starting in that span. Listen, we said it. I've said it for years. I'm sure you said the same thing, Tommy. When Eli's gone, people are going to realize how much they missed him.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Franchise quarterbacks don't grow on trees.
Mm-hmm.
You go down all the teams in the NFL right now. The Jets really never had a franchise quarterback. Joe Namath was great for about 4 years.
Right.
Well, when I say franchise quarterback, I'm talking about a guy that was great for 10, 15 years.
Right.
They never had a franchise quarterback. Patriots did. Dolphins did. Bills did. Kelly was. And AFC North. Browns never did. Not for a long. I know Kozar was good, but no. Steelers did. So far we got 2 teams. Ravens, yeah, I would say Flacco qualifies. He was good for at least 8 or 9 years. Won a Super Bowl. Who's the other team in the AFC North there? Who'd I leave out? The Browns, the Steelers, Bengals. The Ravens, and who?
Bengals.
Burrow's leaning that way. I don't know how long Esiason was there, but I'll give it to him. So
Palmer
far,
was pretty good. Would you call Palmer?
So far, 6 out of 8 teams had a franchise quarterback, but let's keep going. AFC South, Jaguars never had a franchise quarterback. Brunell was really good for about 3 years.
Solid.
But not a long-term franchise quarterback, right? Titans, Steve McNair was.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the other teams in the South right there? You've got Jaguars, Titans. Texans never did. Well, Watson, but not long enough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to look at the teams right now. So I don't have to. Colts, they did, obviously. So far we got 3 teams that have never even had a franchise quarterback. But it's going to get a lot more as we go over the teams.
You know what's even more rare?
What?
A franchise quarterback that starts 210 consecutive football games.
Only 2 players have done it.
That's even more rare, dude.
That's a lot more lucky. Rare. Chiefs have, or at least Mahomes is going to be. And they've Chargers have multiple. Raiders, I don't think have. Have they had a 15-year guy, a 10-year guy in their history?
No.
Stabler, but was he? I don't know. Was he there that long?
No, I don't think so. I would have to look up Kenny Stabler.
But the Broncos, obviously John Elway. Eagles have, Cowboys have, Giants have. Washington never did. Theismann was good, but not long enough. That's 5. Vikings never did. Not for 10 or 15 years. That's 6. The Lions never did. That's 7. Stafford was there for 8 or 9 years, but didn't win anything. The Bears never did. That's 8. Packers did. Bucks never did. Never a 10 or 15-year quarterback, right? That was great. That's 10. The Panthers, Newton was great, but for what, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years?
Yeah.
Not long enough. Saints, Breeze. Falcons, Matt Ryan. Niners, yes. Seahawks, yes. Cardinals, no. So that's 11 teams that have never had a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
So, and you're talking about teams that have been around for 50-plus years?
Yeah, don't grow on trees.
So franchise quarterbacks do not grow on trees. They just don't. And we always said that. Fans always said that. When he's gone, you're going to realize how much you missed him. And hopefully we don't. Hopefully Dan Jones turns into that. But it's a lot easier said than done to just say, let's go get the next guy. It's simple. No, it's not simple. If it was simple, everybody would have a franchise quarterback.
You're right. Comment in the chat. Ruben says, R.I.P. Franco Harris. R.I.P., man. He was a great player.
All-time great. Big Daddy, thank you very much, man. Offense, 1 offensive center, guard, tight end, running back, 5 wide receivers. Yeah, you're right about definitely about the wide receiver part. And a lot of the other, for sure, need at least 1 interior offensive lineman. Hopefully, Azudu could grow, but for sure, we need 1 more interior offensive lineman. And even if Barkley's back, I think we need another running back. I want Brian Robinson. Not him specifically, but I want that type of guy. Right. I think it'd be a great compliment for Saquon Barkley to bring back. We need that
pressure off him. Take some wear off him.
We need that Jacobs.
Yeah, man.
We need that guy. We need that goal line presence, that short yardage runner. That's what I want in this offense next year. And hopefully
even the Cowboys do it to a certain extent with Zeke and Pollard.
Zeke and Pollard, yeah, they got a nice compliment. Bill, thank you very much, man. All these people trash DJ. Look across the street. He never crashed and burned like Zach. DJ 3 years with horrible team coaches. Give DJ his props. The other thing that I think you got to evaluate when you're, and I'm not saying other quarterbacks can't do this. They can. But Daniel Jones handles New York very well in terms of the media. That's a factor when you play in New York. It's a factor that I think a lot of fans overlook. That's important. And Eli Manning did a great job with it. Obviously, production is the most important thing. If you don't produce, it don't matter. You're not staying. Right. But Daniel Jones does have, I think, the right type of temperament to play in New York at the quarterback position. I think he handles the media very well. Zeke, thank you very much, man. Beloved, what's going on, man? You know how I feel about DJ, so I'm not getting into it. But what if he doesn't want to return? That's fair, Zeke.
It's a good question.
I think, and this is just me guessing, Zeke, and I could be completely wrong at the end of the year. I think the reason, as I said to Tommy earlier in the show, that they went to Saquon during the bye is because they want to use the franchise tag on Daniel Jones. Because they could only use the tag on one guy. I think they were trying to get a deal done with Saquon so they could use the franchise tag on Daniel Jones so they could exclusively negotiate with him. That's what I think their plan is. But we'll see. Hopefully they get a deal done. I don't want to have to use the franchise tag on either one of them. But hopefully they get a deal done before the end of the year. But it's obviously possible. You know, for people that laugh and say Daniel Jones is not going to have a market, I guarantee you Daniel Jones is going to have a market. Have you seen what some quarterbacks have signed for in the past when they hit the open market?
Of course, man. Teams lust over them. And people say, too, you know, he doesn't have to take a team-friendly deal. He shouldn't have to. If you put me on a spot, I think DJ would take a friendlier deal from the Giants. He's comfortable here. He's been progressing in the offense. I think he would take a team-friendly. I don't see DJ as a type to go. Obviously, I'm just, putting it in the air. I have no idea. But I don't think he would be the one to go and scram for every single dollar. As long as it's a competitive, incentive-based offer, like you said. Gamble on yourself. Go out and prove it again.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, if he hits the market and somebody gives him a ridiculous contract, he's going to take it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But I don't think that'll happen. I don't think somebody's going to give him a franchise quarterback contract.
No.
But you never know, but I don't
Unless
think
he goes on a hot run here these last 3-4 games. If he goes on a hot streak and starts blowing stuff out, who knows? You never know what could happen.
Yeah, but I think the value for Jones coming back here, I think he'd be stupid to leave. I'm going to tell you why. You're talking about a guy that has been in 3 different schemes in throughout his career, right? He's been in 3 different offenses. He's had 4 different play callers. If he leaves, he goes to another situation where he has to learn a brand new playbook. And I don't know. I don't know what the circumstance would be like. Maybe it's a great circumstance. But here, he gets to come back to a very good offensive play caller with Dable and Kafka, an offense he's familiar with, an offense that he's starting to grow in. I think it would be foolish on Daniel Jones's part, unless there was an insane contract. Then you take the money. But if all things are close to equal, I think his best option is the New York Giants, and I think he knows that.
Agree.
Because even if he feels like the New York Giants don't believe in him long term, which maybe they do, maybe they don't, we don't know. Even like if they're only willing to give him, say, a 2-year commitment, he could still grow in those 2 years in this offense and hit the open market in a couple of years if he is not in the long-term plans for the Giants and get a big contract elsewhere. I think his best opportunity to grow as a player is staying here in this offense and getting more help. Now, what I will say, if I'm Daniel Jones, I'm using a little bit of my leverage. I'm saying to Joe Shane, I'm coming back. You give me a fair deal, I'm coming back. But I'm only coming back if you get me help next year.
What's the plan exactly?
What's the plan? Are you getting me wide receivers? Are you getting me help? Because if you're not, I'll go sign with the Jets. They got wide receivers already. I'll go. They got more. They got they got young wide receivers that are improving and growing. I'll go there if you're not going to get me help. I'll go to Washington. They got 3 really good wide receivers. So I need to know your plan. Are you going to get me help this offseason? But all things equal, if that's the plan, if I'm Jones, I think that's his best option to come back.
I agree.
Let's see what we got. What other quarterback will be on the market? Jimmy Garoppolo, Geno Smith, potentially. Yep. I think the Seahawks will probably re-sign him, but potentially. I'm trying to think if there's another free agent quarterback. Maybe somebody in the chat will let me know. Is there anybody else off the top of your head that you know?
Maybe Lamar. I know
Oh,
he's not a
Lamar, of
free agent,
course.
right?
I just go into the assumption that the Ravens are bringing him back. I
Lamar
guess
is enticing. I'm not gonna lie. Lamar is an enticing. And as much as I support DJ and I like DJ, if there was a chance for the Giants to make a move for Lamar, I would you know, that would be a tough one right there for me
yeah,
because
understandable.
I'm a big fan of Lamar. I know, and he has some limitations here and there, but I'm a big fan of Lamar. And I think he could. I don't think he has the best receiving core there. I don't think he's had the best situation around him either. Put him in a more explosive offense, and for sky's the limit. So
Yeah,
that's an
I'm
interesting
just
one.
under the assumption I don't think the Ravens are going to let him go.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. They're not going to let him leave that building. That'd be
Yeah,
crazy too.
and I know he's had injuries this year, and he
Right.
hasn't been quite the same player he's been since his MVP season. But he's too important to that team. I'd be surprised if they let him go. But yeah, of course, if he hits the open market, I mean, you're gonna have to pay. You'd have to pay an arm and a leg.
Yeah, that's
Like,
top dollar.
you're paying a Deshaun Watson
Premium.
contract.
Yep.
Because that's the only reason why he hasn't signed yet. Because he wants the Deshaun Watson contract.
Right.
So, we'll see. I don't think that's gonna happen though. I think the Ravens will bring him back.
I agree.
Look at see, this is my favorite thing. When people, because I saw Danny Dumpoffs, who's in my chat all the time. I appreciate you, good subscriber of mine. When people spew false narratives, because I saw that he said, don't compare Daniel Jones to Alex Smith. And he might be talking to people in the chat. He may not be talking to us because I don't think we mentioned Alex Smith and Daniel Jones. I have mentioned in the past because I do think they're very similar in terms of their upbringing. But look at Alex Smith's stats. Maybe you aren't aware of Alex Smith's stats because I'm going to show you Alex Smith's stats. And Alex Smith, by the way, Tommy, had a very similar circumstance to Daniel Jones. 5 play callers in his first 6 years in the NFL, right? This is Alex Smith's stats, okay? Let's look at Alex Smith's stats through his first 4 years in the league. We're not talking about once he got to the Chiefs. We're talking about his first 4 years in the league. Let's take a quick look at these stats. This is Alex Smith's stats, Tommy. All right, you ready?
Yep.
First year, 1 touchdown, 11 interceptions, 2-5 record, 50% completion percentage. Second year, 16 games, 16 touchdowns, 16 picks, 7-9 record. He had a QB rating of 74. Next year, 7 games, 2-5 record, 48% completion percentage. He had a record of 2-5 with a 57 QB rating. The next year, he gets hurt. So he didn't even play his 4th season. Hurt his shoulder. So his first 4 years in the league, Tommy, he had a combined 19 touchdowns and 31 picks.
DJ passed that his rookie year. 24.
He had 19 touchdowns in his first 3 years combined. So you're right. Daniel Jones' stats are much better than Alex Smith's to start his career.
Damn.
And then Alex Smith got stability. He got Harbaugh. He got Andy Reid. And he started to grow as a quarterback. But no, they are. I think their upbringing is almost identical. They both got thrusted into horrible situations. They both were completely mismanaged. I actually think Danny Jones has more potential than Alex Smith.
Yeah, agree.
I really do. Alex Smith, to me, was the ultimate game manager. He grew to be a very smart quarterback over the course of his career, knew his limitations, was the ultimate game manager. But Daniel Jones, I saw Authentic's in the chat. Authentic posted a video. Authentic, tell me, you were there in person. You filmed that video. Alex Smith's not making that throw. I watched Alex Smith for years. Alex Smith didn't have zip on his throws like that. Alex Smith had a noodle for an arm, but he was smart. He knew his limitations. And I'm not saying Jones will grow into more than Alex Smith because Alex Smith became a good quarterback once he got
in the legs too. Jones has weapons with his legs, man. Jones can move the chains when he's rushing the ball. That's something you can't discount when it comes to Jones either.
But Smith had legs too. Smith could run.
Yeah, Smith could definitely run too.
Yeah, but I think Jones has a higher ceiling than Alex Smith.
Agree.
Yeah. I don't know if he'll reach it or not, but I think he has a higher ceiling than Alex Smith. Let's see what we got here. If DJ's not back next year, who would you want to come in? For me, if you're moving on from Jones, just draft a quarterback. I don't want to sign a free agent.
Yeah, I agree.
Outside of, I guess, the Lamar Jackson thing, but I don't think that's happening. So for me, it's you either keep Jones or you draft a quarterback.
I like Anthony Richardson. I know he's a
that's probably the guy you would draft, right?
Yeah, the kid has a gun. There's a slight chance he might slip to the late first round, so the Giants could grab him if they're picking in the 20s, which most likely they are. He has a gun. He has all the physical tools. Of course, it needs to be developed, but what young quarterbacks these days don't need to be. If they move away from DJ, I would love AR. I really would. I know a lot of people are not high on him because he is developmental, but I've seen a lot from him, off-platform throws. By all accounts, from what the coaches have said, great kid, great teammate, smart. I would go that route.
And by the way, Danny, I didn't say that's what I want. You brought it up. You said
That was your comp, Danny.
You said he's not comparable to Alex Smith. He's better than Alex Smith so far throughout his career on a year-by-year basis to start his career. So
he's mad you hit him with the reverse Uno.
Not me. I want more than Alex Smith, and I think Jones could be more than Alex Smith. I don't know if he will be, but I think he could be. But we'll see. We'll see if he's back. Let's see what we got. Authentic says, I'd say Jones and Smith are very similar. Smith got really smart later in his career, hoping that could. Well, yeah, I agree. I think their upbringings are nearly identical. And I think both of them were set up completely to fail. I personally think Jones has a higher skill set than Alex Smith. I really do. I think Jones has a higher skill set than Alex Smith in terms of his arm strength. Doesn't mean he'll reach it, though. We'll find out. Let's see. Joseph, man, what's going on, man? And yes, Eli was the winning quarterback of 2 Super Bowls. But everyone knows Justin Tuck and the defense won the first one. The team won the first one.
Yeah, it was a team effort.
I mean, listen, the defensive line was huge in the Super Bowl specifically, but Eli Manning had several key plays along. Listen, his performance in Green Bay in negative 30-degree weather, like for him to go out there and outplay Brett Favre in the frozen tundra, like he played damn good. He had the huge touchdown against the Cowboys before the half when it looked like that game was going to get out of hand in the divisional round. Right. And listen, Justin Tuck didn't make the throw to David Tyree. He didn't escape that pass. So it was a team effort. The team won that Super Bowl. But, of course, the defensive line had a lot to do with it. What's going on, Akeem, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, man. Not even close. DJ 1.5 times out. I agree. I think he's got a higher ceiling than Alex Smith. I agree. Gabe, what's going on, man? At this point, we have had DJ for so long that to get rid of him and start over with another quarterback sounds worse than just sticking with Jones, knowing he just needs some weapons. I understand the side of the argument, Tommy. The other side, the people that disagree.
Yeah, absolutely.
With us. I understand the side of the argument.
Right.
They want to start over. They want a guy on a rookie salary.
Yep.
I understand it. But I hope they understand my side too, because I think I bring up good points.
You do, and listen, there's history and precedence with the rookie window. Let's be honest, there really is. It's a lot easier to build a team when you have that quarterback on that rookie window. But this is a great point here, and this is when I say it's situational. It's not as easy as saying, okay, did he hit this threshold to bring him back? No, it's where are we picking in the draft? Who's available in free agency? Do we like any of the rookies? How has DJ played within the system? If he gets another year to grow in that offensive system, can he exponentially grow? So there's a lot of variables with it outside of just, is he good or is he average? Is he bad? There's a lot more that goes into that decision.
Yeah. And John, what's going on, man? He says, enough quarterback talk. We need to fix our linebacking core ASAP. Most neglected position. Chris, who would you want? I would draft Simpson over AR-15 if both were there. I'm going to tell you what, and I don't want to bullshit you. I've not looked a ton into the linebacking prospects in this year's draft. I will, for sure, because I definitely think it's a possible position we could draft early on in this year's draft. I think, Tommy, we're going to sign a free agent linebacker.
Like Tremaine Edmonds?
That obviously is ties. That one makes sense. But I think we're going to sign a free agent linebacker, preferably a younger one. But I think we're going to sign a free agent linebacker. Like, if we're going to spend money at a position this year in free agency, I think it's going to be that one. Because the wide receiver market is thin. There's not a lot of high-end wide receivers. I'm sure we'll sign some, but I don't think we're going to sign, like, high-end guys at the wide receiver position. I could see us signing a pretty high-end linebacker if we're going to spend a little bit in free agency this year. Because it's such a need. It's such a need right now.
Have to address it.
Kind of like what we did with Blake Martinez a couple of years ago. I could see us signing like a guy that, and I think the plan with Martinez was for him to be here for 3 years, but he suffered the injury.
Right.
I could see them doing something like that. Tudo, Tana, Giants will win 24-17 against Minneapolis Minions tomorrow. And we say, forget about it. Giants, let's go. Let's go, man. And Fob Blizzard says, linebacker is our biggest. I agree. I'm starting to adopt that more. Well, wide receiver too. Wide receiver and linebacker, I think, are our 2 biggest needs. And corner. We need help at the corner too. But I think I'm going into the offseason. I think those are going to be the 2 positions I want to hit on the most is wide receiver and the middle linebacker. Our linebackers are like barely even backup level. Like they're that bad. Like like we're starting, and I'm not trying to bash Landon Collins, but Landon Collins was off the street for a reason. Our linebacker core is really bad. Really bad. And that's the biggest reason why we're giving up 5.5 yards a carry.
Right.
Because the guys go to the wrong gaps. They get beat off the edge. We got to get much better at that position.
And Tay Crowder was starting at the beginning of the year, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Went from starting to being cut in the same season, man. That's unprecedented. That's tough, man. That just goes to show you how paper thin this roster was coming into the season, man. Again, shout out
happy to have Collins back too, Authentic. I just don't want him being an every down linebacker next year. I think Landon Collins could be a contributor for this team. I just don't think he's an every down linebacker on a good NFL defense.
Hasn't proven it yet.
Yeah,
can't say it if he hasn't proven it.
Yeah, I don't view him that way. But do I think he could be a nice piece? Yeah, sure. I just don't want him being the Mike. I don't want him being an every down linebacker next year for the Giants. And yeah, they brought Crowder back on the practice squad.
Yep.
Let's see what we got. I hope Dallas beats us so they have hope for the postseason and then end up being first round exits as always. He's an Eagles fan. And what's up, Big Moo Man? Thanks for popping in. He says, all I want for Christmas is a Giants win. We all do. That'd be nice to wake up.
That'd be a nice gift.
I think that'd be the ultimate gift. Giants win. A combination of a Giants win and 2 of the 3 teams losing gets us into the playoffs.
Yeah.
That would be the ultimate Christmas gift. Have nothing to worry about the last 2 weeks of the season.
Hell yeah.
Sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and get ready for the playoffs. Talk movies for 2 weeks. How great would that be?
That'd be awesome.
I know you said you got to go at 10:30. I don't want to keep you any longer.
Yeah, I'm gonna dip out, man. I had a great time tonight, though.
Yeah,
man. I really enjoyed this.
It was a long time coming. Our schedules kind of conflicted. Was trying to get you on for a bit. Yeah, man, it was a pleasure talking to you. You're a great guy. And keep doing what you're doing, man. Keep growing your channel. Keep growing your community, your content, everything else. I appreciate you coming on talking Giants with me for a couple hours. So thanks for coming on, Tommy.
No, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate your followers. Appreciate all the new subscribers. Thank you, everybody. Check out the show, Tommy's Takes, Giants Country YouTube. Check me out on Twitter, TommyG105. And again, thank you, Chris. I appreciate you, brother. Keep up the good work. My pleasure, man. You were a pleasure to talk to. So we'll talk soon. We'll do something in the offseason. Absolutely. Actually, we'll do something before the playoffs. I'll have you on. Yeah, let's do it. Before the playoffs, and I see Authentic's in here too. I want to have a stream with like 7 or 8 different content creators. Just come on. That'd be amazing. Have you guys come on for 30 minutes. Just the battle royale. Keep bringing people in. You know, I want to do something like that before the playoffs. But that's Tommy, be good, man. Thanks for popping in. All right, everybody. Have a good night. Be good. Tommy's awesome. I'll hang out with you guys for a little bit. And then I'm going to get ready for Christmas Eve and get ready for the game tomorrow. Juan says Tommy for president. So Christy lists the needs. Wide receiver, inside linebacker, cornerback, and center. Guard, too, you could throw in there. Interior offensive line in general. I would agree that those are our primary needs, but we have a lot of needs. I mean, you could argue that, running back, like somebody said, but I just don't put it on the same level as those. Oh, I had no idea, Authentic. I didn't see that. I didn't know that. Mets, what's going on, man? Send the link. Oh, you want a video? See, the thing is, Mets, and normally I would do that. It's already 10:38, and I don't want to. I know if I put out the video chat, I'm gonna need to be on it for at least another hour, and I don't want to go that late. So next time we'll do a video, but I wanted to have Tommy on. I've been telling him I was gonna have him on the channel for a while. Talk to him, talk to the chat. We'll do a video call in next week at some point. Big Daddy, what's going on, man? He says Drew Sanders, inside linebacker, Arkansas. He's a guy that you like. Like I said, man, I have not dove into the linebacker prospects yet. I've looked at a lot of the wide receiver prospects just because I think that's going to be a point of emphasis this offseason. I looked at a lot of the quarterbacks before the year started because I thought that could be a position of emphasis. I don't think that right now. But I'm definitely going to look at linebackers for sure. Linebackers, cornerbacks, wide receivers. That's and interior offensive linemen. That's where I think we're going to be looking at. Tana, you think Beavers could become one of our? Yes, I do. I mean, well, it's hard to say, Jacob, because I don't know if he's going to be the same player coming off the injury, right? We were all excited with Ryan Conley his rookie year. We all thought he could become a potential starting middle linebacker. He got hurt, and he obviously wasn't the same player after that. So it's hard to say. After the suffered injury, we'll see what he looks like next year. But I think he was trending towards being a starter this year, for sure. He looked really good in training camp, and then he had an unfortunate injury.
And John, thank you very much, man. He says, I want the Giants to draft Simpson because he's a hybrid cover safety linebacker. Kid is lightning fast. When you see his tape, Chris, speed will remind you of Micah. Really? All right, I'm going to have to look at that guy. I'll have to look at him, man. I've been wanting a coverage linebacker for years. Now, I don't know what his build is. I am not a proponent of getting a guy like Simmons, for example. I think I want a bigger linebacker than him. Simmons to me is basically a safety playing the linebacker position. I want a guy that is built like a linebacker but can move like a safety. That's my ideal linebacker if you could find it. So I don't want a guy that's kind of playing out of position. I don't know what that guy's build is, but we certainly could use a cover linebacker for sure. We haven't had one ever on this football team. Let's see what we got. What do you think about trading for a wide receiver this offseason? Like D-Up to me is probably the most realistic potential candidate that we could be looking at in terms of a trade. He's a bit older. He's 30, 31. So the Cardinals may view him as expendable, especially being that Kyler Murray is going to miss at least probably half of next season. You're probably going to have a new coach. I would not be surprised at all if DeAndre Hopkins is traded in the offseason. And if he is, you would have to think the Giants should be interested. I don't know what his price would be because his contract's not even that bad. He's only under contract for 2 more years. I don't know what I'd be willing to give up for him, but he's really good. He's played really good this year when he came back. So that's a guy that, I could see the New York Giants potentially looking to acquire. He's still a number 1 wide receiver in this league, no doubt about it. Let's see. We haven't had a good linebacker since Pierce. Martinez was good, but he was here for 1 year. He was good, really good for 1 year, but then the injury. Pierce is one of my all-time favorite Giants. That was great, but we didn't even draft him. Like, we just don't draft good linebackers. Obviously, he started with Washington, and we brought him in here. But another good linebacker was Barrow, but again, that was a free agent. He was on the 2000 Super Bowl team. He started with the Panthers, or at least he was with the Panthers before he became a Giant. We don't draft good linebackers. We just don't. Let's see what we got here. Did you hear about the football player that I did? I think I did. I can't remember now off the top of my head, though. I'm pulling up random comments, but I think I did, but I don't remember what the story was. Milkman, what's going on, man? Hey, Dana, what are your thoughts on the Mets spending spree? I love every second of it. It's phenomenal. We're finally operating like a New York franchise. Oh, it was Ronnie Hillman? I heard people talking about it. I didn't hear about the specifics. What's going on, Moose, man? Thanks for popping in, man. Oh, he had cancer. Wow. I didn't know. Like I said, I didn't know the specifics, but I saw people on Twitter talking about it. But I was working while I saw it, so I didn't I wasn't able to dive into it. Jack says if the Giants trade for a wide receiver, it has to be someone young who's on the same timetable as the Giants for the future. Hopkins and Kupp are good, but too old. Not worth giving up. But here's the thing, Jack, and I agree with you. In an ideal world, I want T. Higgins, right? I want Pittman. But who's to say those guys are going to be available? Like, why? If you're Cincinnati, and I get it, people say they're going to have to pay Chase and Burrow. They're right now in a Super Bowl window where they still have Burrow on the rookie salary. So why would you be in a rush to trade Higgins? I just don't see it. So, yes, I agree with you. But why would a team want to trade a great young wide receiver? It's very rare that it happens. I know it happened last year with the Eagles with A.J. Brown. It happened with Stephon Diggs. If you could find that, absolutely, that's ideal. If you could find a wide receiver that's still growing and maybe hasn't quite hit his peak yet, like the Bills did with Diggs, name the guy, and maybe there will be somebody available. We'll see. But, that's ideal. I'd much rather have a 25-year-old wide receiver that we trade for than a 30. It's also going to come down to the price, what it would cost to get said receiver. But, I agree with you. Ideally, you want a younger guy. If you were giving up draft picks for any wide receiver, his last name better be, DK Metcalf, Scary Terry, that's not going to happen. Washington's not going to trade him from within division. That's not going to happen. Why would they? I don't see that. Crowder went unclaimed to the practice squad. He goes humbled, hopefully. Yeah, we picked him back up on the practice squad, which that whole thing was weird to me. That the Giants that the Giants cut him, and then that was weird to me. But I'm assuming, I again didn't get a chance to read into the specifics what people were speculating what it was about. I'm assuming it was a cap thing. They probably, because they cut him and brought him back on the practice squad, it probably saved them some money on the cap. It was probably that type of move, and they viewed him as a guy that was expendable. That's probably what happened. SB, thank you very much. I think Higgins is realistic. He wants to be a wide receiver 1. If he's realistic, you go after him. I mean, because I think he is a wide receiver 1. That's a guy I'd be willing to give up a first-round pick for. If Chase Claypool was an early second, I'd give up the 23rd pick for a guy like T. Higgins. I think he's really good, and he's still young, so that's a guy I'd be interested in. Volatile, he says, what is your score prediction for the game? I think it's funny. It's the second straight week that Bad Dog and me had almost the identical score. I predicted the score last week before Bad Dog did, and he's like, you literally almost picked my exact score in my head. Last week, I said 1916 Giants. It ended up being 2012. So the total points were close. I had 35. It was 32. And Bad Dog had 1917. This week, I made the prediction first. I said 26-24. And I think Bad Dog said 26-23. So we're on the same wavelength with our predictions the last couple of weeks. And hopefully we're right. Hopefully the Giants win again. I think we're going to be able to put up a few more points this week. Minnesota's defense is not good. They're ranked 32nd in the league overall. And obviously I think we're going to give up some more because they're a very good offense. So I think it's going to be a game played at least in the low 20s to the mid 20s. But I think it's going to be a close game. I think it'll be a really close game. But I got a 26-24 Giants. How do I feel about Odell Beckham? I would be open to it for the right deal. I'm not giving him a 3-year deal. Not coming off the injuries that he's had, unless I'm completely convinced that he's an incredible player and I don't got to worry about him reagitating the injury. But I would prefer a young wide receiver, like the guy said earlier in the chat, to a guy like Odell Beckham. Now, if I get Odell Beckham back on a fair deal that's not much of a commitment, I'm all ears. But I think the Giants are going to go younger, outside of it being a very fair contract. And if I'm Beckham, you got to take the most money you could get coming off the injuries that he's had. And I don't think the Giants are going to be the team that offers him that. That's why I haven't thought Odell's coming back this whole time. Let's see what we got. Kayvon Thibodeau will become the best edge rusher in the NFL. I don't know about that. I mean, I hope. I think he's going to be one of the best. No doubt about it. He's got everything you could want. The guy is a motor. The guy's a great locker room guy. He's strong. He's fast. And he's not even near his peak because I'm telling you what, he's going to put on another 10, 15 pounds of muscle this offseason. He's going to learn more pass rush moves. And next year, Kayvon Thibodeau is going to be a freak. I could see an elevation in play similar to JPP had in his second year with Thibodeau next year. I could definitely see that. I think he's going to be awesome. He's going to be one of the best edge rushers in the league. I don't know if I'll go as far to say he's going to be the best, but he's going to be really good. You think there's going to be a lot of blue in Minnesota? I have no idea. I mean, I hope. This year the Giants fans have traveled well, I'll say that. In certain games, I mean, in Jacksonville, there was more Giants fans there than Jaguars fans. Now, granted, there's not a lot of Jaguars fans, and granted, you have a lot of New York transplants that go to Florida. But it seemed like there was a decent amount of Giants games at the game last week, too. With the storm, though, I don't know. I'd be surprised if there was a ton of Giants fans there. Lucy, what's going on? Missed you, bro. Hope all is well. Stand up. Go G-Men, baby. Merry Christmas to you. Thank you for being here. I'll be back on tomorrow. Be doing the game. And I'll tell you what, I'm gonna guarantee you guys this. If the Giants win tomorrow and make the playoffs, which means we need a couple more things to happen, and we'll know that around 7:30, 8 o'clock. Once I'm done with the Christmas Eve thing, which I don't know when that'll be, that might be 10 o'clock. It might be 11 o'clock. I don't know. But if they make the playoffs tomorrow, which is a good chance it won't happen, but if it does, I will do a live stream on Christmas Eve night. Maybe for an hour, but just to celebrate the playoffs with you guys. Because obviously I'm not going to do it on Christmas. So if they make the playoffs, I will go live at some point late tomorrow night. Let's see. Yeah, I was at the Jags game. It was a sea of blue. There was tons of Giants fans at the Jaguars games. Tons of Giants fans at the Jaguar game. Giants need a new state. Well, that's not happening. You see how much you see how much we spent on this past one. We're not going to just trash it. I agree with you. It's not a very good stadium, but that's not happening anytime soon. Charles Barkley says we're making the playoffs. Oh, I agree. I think we're making the playoffs. I just don't know if it's going to happen this week. But I think we're making the playoffs. It's just a matter of when. We need a Christmas miracle for that stream. Well, let's hope it happens. Let's get a win. If we win, I think it's going to happen because I think Washington is going to lose to the 49ers, and I think Seattle's going to lose to the Chiefs. So if we win, I think it's going to happen. But we'll see. Giants clinch, watch Top Gun for 2 weeks. Exactly, Danny. John says, how much longer is Dorian Xavier out for? From what I've heard, I don't think McKinney's come back this year. Again, I'm not in the facility. I just tell you what I hear from beat reporters, what Patricia Traina tells me. I don't think he's playing this year. I think Adoree is probably playing next week. I think he's going to play against the Colts. That's what it sounds like from what I've read and what Patricia told me last night. I think he's trending towards playing against the Colts, but I don't think McKinney's going to play this year. If he does, maybe for the playoffs, but don't expect him back anytime soon. Let's see. Tana, this might be our best chance to clinch. I mean, maybe, but listen, if Jacob, I'm going to paint the scenario for you. If the Giants lose this week and Washington loses to the 49ers and the Chiefs beat Seattle, we clinch the next week if we win. So as long as those two teams lose, we're still in great shape. What's up, Ryu, man? Good to see you, man. It's a hand injury. It's serious. Be smart. Well, Dable's even come out and said that he's not going to play him with a club. So that just leads me to believe there's a good chance he's not playing because he'd probably have to play with a club. Brian, what's going on, man? Tana, can you touch on how the Giants can make the playoffs if they lose this week? Yeah, I'll go over it real quick with you, Brian. And I might be glitching out a bit. I see that for some reason it dropped to 1, but you can still hear my voice if I am glitching out. I'll go over it real quick, Brian, but it's simple. I don't even need to. I don't even need to go over it. I know it because I did a video on it. This is the landscape for the New York Giants. If they lose the remaining games, they finish 8-1. The way they make the playoffs, Green Bay has to lose one game. They can't go 3-0. I don't know Green Bay's schedule off the top of my head. Let me look at it. This is the Packers schedule. Packers play the Lions. So that could help us too. They could potentially beat the Lions the last week, which could help us. They play at the 49ers. So, I'm sorry. That's preseason. They play at Miami, Minnesota, and Detroit. So odds are Green Bay's not going to win out. So there you go with them. But they can't go 3-0 if we lose out. Otherwise, they'd pass us. And then we would need the other three teams being Detroit, Washington, and Seattle. We would need 2 of them to go 1-2 or worse. Washington plays this week. They play San Francisco. They play Cleveland with Watson. They play the Cowboys. Could easily lose 2 games. I think we could all agree with that. Seattle plays the Chiefs in Kansas City this week. They play the Jets, and they play the Rams. So it's possible. I think they're going to lose to the Chiefs. They could lose one of those other 2 games. The Lions, I don't think that will happen. But that is how we would make it if we didn't win another game. I don't want it to come to that. Win the game, and we're in. But that's the scenario. And Fabian says, happy holidays, fam. 34-17, Giants playoffs, all aboard. Let's go. Gabriel, man, thank you very much. Imagine someone telling you before the season that the Giants could clinch a playoff spot in week 16. Absolutely insane. Stand up. It's been incredible. It's been the most fun I've had as a Giants fan, even long before YouTube. This team's more fun than the 2016 team for me. Knowing the struggle that these players have gone through, right? That were drafted by the former regime, Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley and Dexter Lawrence. And, for them to get this opportunity to surprise the world, I think it makes this team so easy to root for. I think it makes this year so much more special. So this team is near and dear to my heart. This has been one of the most fun seasons I've had as a New York Giants fan. The one thing I have not enjoyed about this season is that the fan base is still incredibly divided, even in a year such as this, that should have surprised everybody. And I understand it. The quarterback's the most important position, but that has not been fun to me. Getting into debates constantly of what we should do at the quarterback position. But the year as a whole, the season as a whole, this has been a great year. It's been so much fun covering this team, talking about this team. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what Dable and Shane could do going forward. Taney, you think that the Eagles game just got a lot more winnable with the Hurts? I mean, if Hurts doesn't play, of course it gets more winnable. Now, if they play all their starters and Minshew plays, they're still gonna be tough to beat. I mean, the Eagles have a great team. It's not just Hurts; they have a great team. They have one of the best offensive lines, great weapons. So if they play their starters, they're still gonna be hard to beat, even if Hurts doesn't play. But be good, authentic man. Thanks for popping in. Gabriel says, would you want to sign someone like McCole Hart? I think he could make sense. I don't know what his market will be, though, because the market's the wide receiver market's very thin, but obviously he's ties to the Chiefs, Kafka. If we're going to sign a wide receiver, one of those two guys makes sense. Giants Mafia says, Justin Fields missed the target on 20% of his throws. He's not all that. I don't want to get into other quarterbacks, because when you get into other quarterbacks, people say, oh, you bashed this guy, you bashed that guy. I don't watch Justin Fields week to week. I can't speak on Justin Fields. I know his stats have gotten better. I can't speak on Justin Fields. I won't. I don't watch him as closely as I watch Daniel Jones. I know Justin Fields has a bad situation, much like Danny does. He's got better weapons. Once they got him Claypool and he's got Kmet, but still not very good. And they got a bad offensive line. And that's all I could say about Justin Fields. John, be good, man. Hardman, you get a punt returner and a good. I like Hardman. Robert, what's going on, man? I watched Miami versus Buffalo, and Tua and Allen and Tua both missed open receivers. It's going to happen. I mean, everybody's going to miss receivers. I don't think Tua's great. I don't. People who just look at the box scores are going to flame me for this, but it's honestly how I feel. I think Jones is just as talented as Tua. I think he's probably more talented than Tua. Tua's got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Tua's got a noodle for an arm. I don't think he's anything special, if I'm being honest with you. Josh Allen is special. I don't think Tua's special. Cookie says, Tana, would you go bold for a Super Bowl year? I would do whatever I would do whatever I have to. Yeah, listen, Fields is set up like Jones. They set him up to fail. Horrible situation in Chicago. And they don't have draft picks. And this year, I think they do. Finally, they have a first-round pick. I have not seen the new Avatar movie. I have not seen the new Avatar movie. I want to. I'm probably going to see it this week. Don't tell me anything about it, but my brother saw it. He said it was great. Giants Mafia says, if we beat the Vikings, we're going to win out unless we rest our starters. That'd be great. Have momentum going into the playoffs. How do I feel about Edmonds or Milan? I mean, I'd like either one of them. We need a linebacker, right? And both of them played in Buffalo. So I've always liked Milano. Seems to be a free agent every year, doesn't he? I just feel like I've talked about him during two other off seasons as a potential target for the Giants. But obviously the ties to Buffalo. That's why you're mentioning them. Exactly. Give Jones receiver like Washington. Washington's receivers are great. Washington has a top 10 receiving core. They just don't have a good quarterback. And Jack says, Chris, got to say, appreciate you for these live streams, man. Top-tier content in a place where all Giants fans or football fans can come together and vibe over something they all love. I appreciate all you guys, man, and that's all I want this to be. I try to give you guys what I feel is a well-informed opinion. You're not always going to agree with it, but I try to present my side of why I feel the way that I do. But I always try to respect everybody's opinion. Now, if somebody comes in with an opinion that I think is off the wall, you're going to see me get heated about it. But that's just, we all love our team, right? So, but that's all this channel is, man. I want it to be, like you said, a platform where Giants fans can come and talk with one another, especially when I do these live streams. Let's see what we got. Predicting scores is silly. I mean, it's fun, Joe. There's no way you could know. It's fun. You just throw a guess out there. If you're right, you're right. If you're wrong, you're wrong. But nobody knows the score. That's why they play the games. um, when I predict the score in my head, this is how I do it. When I predict the score in my head, there's not like an overanalyzation of what the game. I look at the two teams and in my head I'm like, okay, the first thing I think about is what's the total points in the game going to be around. Right? When you have two really good offenses, you're going to say the score is going to be in the 50s. When you have two bad offenses, good defenses, high 30s, low 40s. So, like last week, for example, Giants, Washington. Washington's strength is their defense. Giants' strength is their defense. Not the best offense. I said, okay, 19-16 Giants. I think the game's going to be around 35 points, 38 points. And I think the Giants are going to win close. This week, Giants don't have a great offense, but the Vikings have a horrible defense. Vikings have a great offense. Giants have a pretty good defense. All right, this week, I think this game is going to be approaching high 40s, low 50s. So that's why I picked 26-24 Giants. That's it. There's nothing crazy that goes into it. Chris Lee, thank you very much. He says, do you think a win against Minnesota locks up Coach of the Year for Dable? No, I don't. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but there's a lot of coaches that it could go to, right? I mean, you have, at this point, Sirianni's got to get consideration, right? The Eagles are 13-1. Salah's fallen off. I thought he was definitely a front runner with the Jets, but he's fallen off. Let me look over the league right now. I mean, the guy we're going up. What's the Vikings coach's name? O'Connell, right? It's his first year. They're doing really well this year, even though I don't think their team is great, but they're doing well. I don't think our team's great either, if I'm being honest, but we're doing well. Let me look around the league. Nobody in the AFC East. Nobody in the AFC North. Nobody in the AFC South. Nobody in the AFC West. Sirianni with the Eagles. Dable with the Giants. O'Connell with the Vikings. I'll throw in, I don't think he'll win it, but I will throw his name in there just because of how they've rebounded this year. Campbell with the Lions, I think deserves some mention. They started off 1-6. They're 7-7 now and playing great football. So I think Dan Campbell deserves a lot of credit and recognition. Nobody within the South, and nobody in the West, even though San Francisco has overcome a lot of injuries. So you could throw Shanahan probably in the top 5. I mean, they're on their third quarterback. I know they have a lot of talent, but they're on their third quarterback. But if I had to pick the top 4, it would be Sirianni, it would be Dable, it would be O'Connell I think that's his name, with the Vikings, and it would be Dan Campbell with the Lions. Those would be my 4. And Peterson's a pretty good one too with the Jaguars. But I think those would be my 4. Maybe Peterson in the top 5 or 6, but I think those would be my top 4. David, man, thank you very much. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah to this great community. Thank you, especially Chris and Tommy. Tommy, I subscribe to your channel. All I want for Christmas is a Giants playoff win or more. Let's go, man. Let's go. Dolphins head coach. Well, the Dolphins are 8-6. I mean, he's good. Don't get me wrong. Why does the name escape me? The dude they got from the 49ers, the offensive coordinator. Yeah, he deserves to be at least named. But I think I'd have those 4 as my top 4. I don't know what order I'd have it in, but I'd have those 4 in my top 4. McDaniel, there you go. Yeah, he'd be in my top 5 or 6. Maybe Peterson in my top 5 or 6. Cowboys coach? You know what? I hate the Cowboys. If they didn't start falling off at the end of the year, like that loss to the Jaguars was really bad last week, I would say yes, he deserves to at least be named. Because they have overcome injuries, right? Dak didn't play for the first 5 weeks or so. So, yeah, he's done well. I don't think he's going to win Coach of the Year, though. Where do you think DJ would be if theoretically what? I don't know. Maybe you meant to type more. I'm going to go based off of what you were. I'm going to assume what you were going to say is where do I think DJ would be if Brian Dable was his coach from the start of his career? Because I think that's an interesting hypothetical. And it's strictly a guess. It's an hypothesis. I think he'd be a much better quarterback. Much better quarterback than you see today. If Brian Dable was here from the start of his career and he had stability for his first 4 years in the league, how good, I don't know. I think he'd be a much better quarterback. If he was given a situation like Murray was, Kyler Murray was in the same offense for 4 straight years. And obviously Cliff Kingsbury's not doing a great job, but having a coach from the start who tailors his offense around you, you build with him, he'd be a much better quarterback. Much better quarterback. Tanny, you think we throw a lot of guys at Jefferson tomorrow, or is it just going to be I mean, who else are we going to throw? We don't have much, right? I think the game plan tomorrow, and listen, he's going to get his yards. He's going to get, like Tommy was saying, Justin Jefferson's going to get his yards no matter who's covering him. He's that good. But especially against us, he's going to get his yards. No matter what we do, he's going to put up numbers. Giants have to hold strong inside the 20. But what my defensive approach would be tomorrow, I'm not blitzing. I mean, I'm going to blitz at in certain instances, but I'm going to dial back the blitz, much like we did last week. I think the Giants had about 65 defensive snaps, and I think we blitzed 16 times, which is very uncharacteristic for the Giants. On the year, we're blitzing 40% of the time. We blitzed about 25% of the time. So we dialed back the blitz a bit. I would do the same thing because we can't cover, and we have a very strong defensive front. You got to hope that those 4 guys could get pressure on the quarterback. And I would be physical up at the line of scrimmage because Justin Jefferson's going to beat me. Thielen's going to beat me. All their weapons are going to beat me. We don't have the guys that could cover them. So I'm going to have my corners try to disrupt their routes, even if it's for a half a second, a full second. I'm going to be physical up at the line of scrimmage to try to break the timing off of their routes just a little bit to give that defensive line a little more time to get after the quarterback. And if they hit me with a big play, they hit me with a big play. Now, one thing that the Giants have been great at this year, I think they're the only team in the NFL that has not surrendered. I think I heard this stat last week. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I think they're the only team in the NFL that has not surrendered a touchdown pass of 35 yards or longer this year. So they've done great in terms of guarding against the big play. But if you get hit with a big play this week, you get hit with a big play. You got to stand strong inside the 20, which is where we've done a great job, right? We're 4th in the NFL in red zone defense. So that's where we got to hold strong. We got to hold them to a field goal. Can Jones make plays if he has better receivers? Yes. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how good he'd be. It's all hypothetical, but he'd be much better. Yes. It's just common sense. It's just common sense. How much better does Tua look this year? How much better does Hurts look this year? They got weapons, right? So, yes. Oh, you know what? Tanner, it must have been before the Eagles game because that was a 50-yard touchdown or 45-yard touchdown. So that stat must have been before the Eagles game that I heard that. So 2 weeks ago I heard that. So, yes, now they have. They did give up a 35-yard touchdown pass. But before that game, I don't think they had surrendered a 35-yard touchdown pass all year. I think that was their first one. You assess DJ on situational football. Guy can convert on 3rd and longs, tight window throws, and got to have it moments that's transferable to the playoffs. Better than racking up touchdowns with star wide receivers open. Listen, a big reason why I've been as outspoken as I have for Daniel Jones there's 2 reasons. The first reason is one I constantly say. I value the rookie quarterback window, and I don't want to have a 2-year window. I want to have a 4-year window if you're going to trade up to get a quarterback. I don't think we have a team to support a quarterback from day one, and I think the first 2 years you would spend building around that quarterback so you wouldn't be able to maximize that rookie window, right? And I don't think we're in a position to give up draft capital either to go up and get a quarterback. Now, if you see a Pat Mahomes, you see a Pat Mahomes, right? You do that, but I don't think there's going to be a Pat Mahomes. Otherwise, I would want a quarterback. But the other thing is I think Daniel Jones has gotten the most out of what he's been given this year. I don't think you could have expected much more out of what he's been given. I think he's been able to get a lot, as much as you could hope for out of what he's been provided with. So I want Daniel Jones back next year. He's, like you said, he's come up in the got-to-have-it moments. He's come up with crucial 3rd down conversions, 4th down conversions. He's come up big in big spots multiple times this year, and he's been consistent. He hasn't turned the ball over. He's got a 1% interception rate. And for people that laugh at that, there's only one quarterback that's done that since 2018. His name is Aaron Rodgers. That's finished the year with a 1% interception rate. And I understand he's throwing shorter routes. It's still impressive. He's got 4 interceptions this year, and only two of them are his fault. The one that was thrown to Aiden Hutchinson and the one that he threw to Saquon Barkley week 1. He's got 3 fumbles on the year. One of them are his fault. The one that he had a couple of weeks ago when he ran against Washington. The other 2 were not his fault. He's got 7 total turnovers. He's got 17 combined touchdowns with very little help. What are my top 5 movies of all time? I listen. Lord of the Rings is my favorite movie of all time. I put that in one movie though. If I have to pick one of the 3, it's Return of the King, but I consider that one movie. After that, you go so many ways. It depends on my mood. Probably depends on the time of year. How are you ranking the movies? Are you ranking it based off of rewatchability? Are you ranking it based off of how I felt about the movie after the first time I saw it? There's so many great movies. It's too hard of a list for me to come up with. But my favorite actor is Tom Cruise. I like everything the guy makes, especially Top Gun this past year. Maverick was great. Rocky's a great movie. That's up there. Can I read your last comment? Let me see, Mike, if I can find it. Let me see. Where's Mike? Can you read my last comment? Your last comment was, can you read my last comment? Here we go. Entertainer, what about Pete Carroll? No one predicted the Seahawks to be good. Ooh, I forgot about Pete Carroll. That's actually a good one. Now, the problem with Pete Carroll, though, is Terminator 2 is definitely up there for me too, Pumpkin. That's epic. The problem with Pete Carroll is his team's falling apart down the stretch. They've lost like 5 out of their last 6, including a loss against Carolina. But before the last 4 weeks or so, yeah, he was up there. But I don't think he's going to get it now. But yeah, he's done a good job overall. Shea Tierney, the quarterback coach, for sure, man. Dable actually mentioned him in the quotes this week. But yes, and he said that Shea Tierney had a lot to do with why Daniel Jones is playing as well as he is. I think Coach of the Year has to be Dable from what he's dealt with and uncertainty. Campbell deserves some credit too. I would put Campbell under consideration for sure. What's going on, Christian Pena, man? Thanks for popping in. Sexy Dexy and Big Cat are going to win this guy. I hope so. Their interior offensive line's not good. We should be able to take advantage of it. Dane, I like them too. I like Zach Wilson too. I'm not going to lie to you. I saw his workouts. I thought he looked good. I saw his game film. I thought he looked good. There's a reason he went 2nd overall. But there's also a reason the quarterback is the most unpredictable position in football because there's so many variables that go into it. And you can't say the Jets didn't set him up right. He had a pretty good support system. Just didn't work out. There's a reason that people miss on quarterbacks so often. So it's you got to get lucky. You got to get lucky too. How do you feel about? I like Addison. I don't know if he's going to fall to us. He's starting to go much higher in mocks, but I like Addison. I would be leaning as of now he will not drop to us, but he's a good player. Yeah, he had a good pro day. Goodfellas is great. I have a hot take with Goodfellas. And obviously, if you're in here, you're probably a guy. I don't think a lot of women watch me. So most guys have watched Goodfellas. Shawshank Redemption is epic. Here's my hot take on Goodfellas. I think Goodfellas is an incredible movie. It's one of my top 10, 15, 20 movies of all time. I love it. I like Casino more, and I'm going to tell you why. I think the peak of Goodfellas is better than any peak of Casino. But for me, the last 30% of Goodfellas is a little bit of a letdown. I felt like it peaked too early. I didn't like the way that the movie ended. Casino, I liked throughout. That's my only knock on Goodfellas. Now, Goodfellas at its peak is incredible. It's got some of the best scenes I've ever seen in movie history, but I didn't like the end of it. I like the end of it. I didn't love the end of it. I didn't like the last quarter of the movie nearly as much as I like the first 65, 70%. So that's why I have Casino above it. You disagree? That's fair. I mean, I think most people prefer Goodfellas. So I'm in the minority on that. Who do you think is the most important player for us tomorrow on both sides of the ball? I mean, it's hard. It's hard to say. It's hard to say that Daniel Jones isn't the most important player. He plays the most important position. He's got to take care of the football. So it's hard to say that he's not the most important player on the offensive side of the ball, right? One guy I didn't talk about in this stream at all is my favorite player on the team. That's Saquon Barkley. I think Saquon Barkley's going to have a big game tomorrow. Big game tomorrow. You're going up against a bad defense in Minnesota. And last week to me, Saquon looked like he was back. I know like the stats didn't say it until that last drive, but he was running hard. He had that really nice juke move on the pass play. And the last drive, I mean, he was hitting the spin button left and right. He looked like he was back from a physical standpoint. I think Barkley's going to have a big game tomorrow. Like, I could see Barkley having, like, the performance he had against the Titans week 1. I could see him having a game like that tomorrow. I think Barkley's going to have a big game tomorrow. And if we're going to win, he's going to have to. I think he's going to have a big game. On the defensive side, I'm going to go with the interior. I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau, for sure, he's a game wrecker. But I think we could really take advantage of their interior offensive line, being that they're banged up. So Leo and Dex, I could see having a big game. I could see them having a big game tomorrow. But I'm going to go with Saquon on the offense, and I'm going to go with Leo and Dex on the defense. I think he's going to have a big game tomorrow. I think Barkley's going to have a big game. I'm going to go. All right, here's my hot take for tomorrow. Saquon Barkley, 130 yards on the ground. I think he's going to have a big game. 130 yards and 2 scores. Well, big game for Barkley tomorrow. If we hit Cousins all game long, we're not losing. Alex Smith Jr. could throw 140 yards, 1 touchdown for all I care. Got to get after the quarterback, no doubt about it. Tano, what's your opinion on St. John's as a UConn fan? St. John's played surprisingly good this year. Well, they lost their last game. They've lost, I think, 2 out of their last 3 because now they're starting to play better teams. They lost to Iowa State and they lost to Villanova in Villanova pretty badly. I think they lost by like 15. St. John's is good. I'm a pretty big St. John's hoops fan. They're good. They're like a fringe tournament team. I've watched about 5 or 6 of their games this year, but they're not anybody that should scare you. UConn's definitely a much better team than we are. I watched UConn 2 nights ago when they played. They almost lost. Like, they were struggling throughout the first 30 minutes of that game. I forgot who they Georgetown, a team they had no business being close against, but they ended up pulling away in the end. But UConn's definitely a much better team than St. John's. What's up, Yuso? He says, still can't believe they didn't pick Andrew Thomas, man. We riot. Yeah, he should have been. What's up, DQ, man? Thanks for popping to the stream. Stand up. Bellinger's going to be used for tomorrow. Sure hope so. Hopefully we can use him a bit more in the passing game. I seriously need to know what John Feliciano did to be an alternate for the pro. It's a joke. I don't know. What's up, Carl? He says, I feel the secondary needs to have a good game to win. Yeah, I mean, yes. But to me, I already know going in, our secondary can't hold up for like 4 or 5 seconds against this team with TJ Hawkinson and Justin Jefferson and Thielen and Osborne. Like, we're not holding up. So we have to get after the quarterback. We have to disrupt their patterns. So that to me is why the pass rush is more important in this game, because the pass rush needs to hide the secondary. If we have to cover for 5 seconds, we're dead. We're dead. We got to be able to get after the quarterback. Just affect the quarterback, help out the secondary a bit. Yeah. What do you think of the extent of McKinney's injury? I think he's going to be out for the year. I think he's going to be out for the year. From what I've talked to Patricia Traina on her channel after she thinks he's going to be out for the year, I think he's going to be out for the year. She obviously has more knowledge than me. She's at the facility. She interviews these players. And take this for what you will. Patricia Traina, and again, she's more credible than me. She's at the facilities. She said she heard whispers that Daniel Jones is coming back at the bye week. She said she heard whispers. Whatever that means, I don't know who. She said from somebody in the facility. That's what she heard. So take that for what you will. I'm going to the UConn Creighton game on January 7th. That might be the biggest conference game of the year. Creighton's a good team. They just started off slow. I would rather have X back for the playoffs, to be honest. I don't think he's coming back this year. I really don't. If we don't sign Barkley back, what free agent running back do you think we go after? I think his market won't be as high as he thinks because of all the free agent running backs. We'd probably sign somebody, a mid-tier free agent running back, and we'd probably draft a running back in not early, like the 5th round, 4th round, and we'd probably sign like a mid-tier free agent running back. Like in the $5 million range. I don't think we'd sign a high-end one. Chris, you concerned about the run game with Dalvin Cook? Yeah, I'm. It doesn't matter who the running back is. The way that our run defense has been all year, I'm concerned every week with our run defense. We're horrible at sealing off the edge. So yes, I'm concerned with Dalvin Cook. I'm concerned every week. I was concerned with Travis Etienne. I'm concerned every week. And we got time. What's going on, man? I was wrong about Kayvon on how good he would be compared to other pass rushers drafted, and I need a Dexter or Love re-signing so I can. I'm buying Dexter's jersey. I'm telling you right now. Now Dexter's under contract next year. He's on the 5th-year option, but he's gonna get extended, and we got time. Don't worry about that. I think that's gonna be my next jersey purchase because obviously I already got Kayvon. I got Daniel. I got Barkley. I got Thomas. So I think Dexter Lawrence can be my next jersey purchase. Now I may wait to see what we do in the draft, but I think I'm going Dexter Lawrence anyway. Let's see. Jaden says Saquon and Danny definitely coming back. I think a few guys will take small pay cuts. We'll see. Compared to the Mets payroll this year, Bobby Bonilla is chump change. Yeah. Remember that, H1000. I'm assuming you're a Mets fan based off that. Maybe you're a Yankees fan just talking about the Mets. But that's how bad things were with Jeff Wilpon. Remember that? Where we used to stress that the Mets weren't going to be able to sign players because they had to pay Bobby Bonilla $1.1 million, where we had to stress that. Like, Cohen just says, oh, I can wipe my ass with that. And the other thing, when I really realized like how big of an impact Steve Cohen was going to have was 2 years ago, or last year rather, when they cut Cano. I think it was last year, when they cut Cano at the beginning of the year, when he was making as much as he was. I was like, there's no way. If Wilpon was the owner, we would have had to sit with Cano as our second baseman all year or our DH all year. Cohen said, no, I don't care about the money. He's not helping the team. I'm cutting him. I'm bringing up Luis Guillermo, who helped us tremendously. So, yeah, it's great to have a good owner. Do you want to start the ball? I never want to start with the ball. I want to kick off, especially with our team. I don't want to start with the ball. I want to kick off. Yeah, 100% I want to kick off. It's not good for baseball. It's not good for anything. It is what it is. I had to sit back and watch the Yankees do it for years. They won. If it helps me win a championship, I'm happy. That's the rules. Until they change the rules, they're operating from within it. And the other teams, I don't feel bad because what Cohen's doing with the luxury tax, that's giving these owners more money to spend. So if they don't spend it, that's on them. David says, no one will agree, but I think Andrew Thomas is overrated. I think he's a very good tackle, but not all pro yet. I heard the vote is 75% players and coaches, 25% fans. I don't think he's overrated. I think he's excellent. Now, if you want to tell me you don't think he's the best left tackle, that's fair. He's top 5. He's really good. He's really good. Now, he had that one really bad game where he had the flu, and you saw the impact that had on, I forgot who had it the week before Andrew Thomas. I can't recall, but it had an impact on him as well. So he had one really bad game where he had the flu, where Parsons beat him. But outside of that, Andrew Thomas has been great this year. Andrew Thomas is great. I'm not worried about Andrew Thomas. And at the end of the day, I don't even care if Andrew Thomas is the best left tackle. As long as he gives me top 5, 6 left tackle play, I'm happy. You give me a guy that I know every year is going to be one of the elite tackles in the sport, I'm good. I'm good. So, I'm so happy he's a Giant. Chris, you think someone offers Brandon Brown a GM job? I hope not, because I think he is a really smart guy from everything that I've heard. Coming over from the Eagles, and of course the Eagles have drafted very well in recent years. So I hope not. The one good thing with the whole Brandon Brown thing is the Rooney Rule. If we lose now, I think he has to stay on the team another year. I think he's got to be employed by the Giants for 2 years. But if he's employed for the Giants for another year and we do lose him, you get somebody in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong. And now it has to be an elevation. It can't be a lateral move. So, like, if he left for another assistant GM job, you don't get anything. But if he gets promoted to a GM somewhere else, I'm almost certain you get 2 third-round comp picks for it. I'm almost positive about that. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. I think you get 2. Let's see. 6 degrees to get today and 56 degrees. Yeah, the weather's been insane. Insane, this winter storm that blew through. Chris, think this era is too enamored with backyard highlight real quarterback play. Feel like this era might miss out on Tom Brady if he came out and brushed off his very limited ceiling. There may be some truth to that, but listen, I just think the quarterbacks today are they're more talented in terms of, athletes and arm strength. They're more talented, but do I think that there's some fans that like I was never a big fan of Kyler Murray. Still not. I'm just not. To me, he doesn't read a defense very well. He is like the quintessential backyard quarterback. I've never been a big fan of Kyler Murray. But I'd be lying to you if I said I wouldn't want a quarterback that's mobile and could run, because in today's game, I think you need it. I think there's a difference between a quarterback who needs to run and a quarterback who can run. I don't want a quarterback who needs to run. And I think there's certain quarterbacks that need to run to be effective. I don't want that. But I want a quarterback that can run, who can make plays with his legs, who can extend plays. I don't want a statue in the pocket. Let's see. Don't care for Murray either. Never did, even his 1 year at Oklahoma. I can't take it away from him. He's been a pretty good pro, but that's not the type of quarterback I want. I want a guy that's capable of running, but could live in the pocket. That's what I want. Like Lamar Jackson is great. And of course, if we got Lamar Jackson, yeah, we could win with him. I don't want that type of quarterback, though. I want a guy that could, I want Pat Mahomes. Obviously not that level. You're not going to just get that level. But I want a guy like Pat Mahomes who can make plays with his legs when he needs to and has an arm. A guy like Justin Herbert, right? A guy like Aaron Rodgers when he was younger. Like that. Chris, how we feel, my man? Score prediction. I am going to go 26-24. Somebody asked me earlier. 26-24 Giants. 26-24. Jacob says, my dream quarterback is a quarterback that could do everything. Kids like Murray almost never pan out. Only guys. Yeah, even Vic had injury problems. But, yeah, Vic was great. Lamar Jackson's great. Chris said, Chris, what would you hate more, Eagles or Cowboys win the Super Bowl? Oh, wow. I hate the Eagles more, so I'll say the Eagles. But at the same time, I wouldn't be able to dig into the Cowboys for how long it's been since they won their last Super Bowl. So I may go with them. I'm not too worried about the Cowboys. I don't think the Cowboys are going to win. They're dangerous, but I don't think they're going to win. The Eagles scare me a little bit. But I think they'll get exposed in the playoffs when they match up with the right team, whether that's the 49ers or whether that's a team like Buffalo in the Super Bowl. But they got a shot. I mean, the Eagles are playing great this year. I always hate the Cowboys more than the Eagles. It's not even close for me. Hey, everybody's got their own opinions. I mean, I hate them both with a passion. I always say, Flat Blizzard, the reason I hate the Eagles more is because of what they've done to me as a fan. My hardest moments as a fan are due to the Eagles. So pretty much all my hardest moments are due to the Eagles. Outside, like the 49ers for sure in 2002. But several, some of my happiest moments as a fan came against the Cowboys. Seeing Terrell Owens cry in the playoffs, beating Tony Romo to make the playoffs before we won our Super Bowl in 2011. I don't have many good memories against the Eagles. So, and Deshaun Jackson's probably my most hated player of all time. Does it look like we're going to play the Vikings or the Niners? I couldn't tell you. It depends on where we finish in the standings. We could finish 6 or 7, and I don't know where they're going to finish in the standings, so hard to say. JC, what's going on, man? We run more. We run more. Keep the Vikings. That's obvious. That's the obvious plan going in. Like, we should run the crap out of the ball tomorrow. Like, we should have at least ideally 35 carries. I'm not saying Barkley needs 35 carries, but between Jones, Barkley, Breida, we should have 35 runs tomorrow. Like, we need ball control. I'm not saying be allergic from the big play. If there's an opportunity, do it. But we have to win the time of possession. And I'm going to tell you what, I think we will. And the Giants have not done well in the time of possession as of late. We still rank 11th. We were as high as like 3 or 4, like 4 weeks ago. We're 11th, but the Vikings are bad in that department. They're 28th in the league. So, and I think some of that has to do with how explosive their offense is and how bad their defense is. They can't get off the field. They rank 32nd overall in yards against. So, I think we will win the time of possession. And I think we need to win it. We need to win it by a pretty substantial margin if we want to win, like 33-27. And we got to win the turnover battle. But for sure, we got to get the run game going. Let's see. What's up, sports influencer man? Thanks for popping in. He says, you saw that Hurts probably won't be available next week against the Saints, meaning if they go 0-2, they're going hard against us week 18. Hey, if it happens, it happens. I mean, the Giants have to do their job, man, and they gotta sew it up before that game. I'm not going to depend on the Eagles benching their starters. We gotta lock the playoffs up before that game. Jaden says, I had to argue with some idiot that was saying Hurts is better than Mahomes. Well, that's just stupid. Hurts is going to win the MVP this year, probably. Well, I think Mahomes honestly should, but Hurts might win it because the Eagles are 13-1. He's playing very well. I'd give it to Mahomes. I think Mahomes is the MVP, but maybe it'll go to Hurts. Open your eyes. Hurts isn't close to those two quarterbacks. M.Y. Giants, I'm not taking anything away from him. He's playing great. He's not as good as those two quarterbacks. M.Y. Giants 26, man. Thank you very much, man. All I want for Christmas is a playoff berth. That's what we all want, man. Do you think we bring back Hodgins? Ideally, yes. Chris, did you see the Jags win the division? Yeah, I think the Jaguars are going to win the division. They own the tiebreaker against the Titans, and they play the Titans the last week of the season. The Jaguars are hot. And to be honest with you, I'd much rather see the Jaguars. I like watching Trevor Lawrence play. If there is a quarterback in the league right now that I think is going to enter or could enter that Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen tier, it's probably him. It's either him or Herbert for me. I think Burrow is definitely a tier below them. I still think Burrow's great. But I think Herbert has the possibility of joining that tier, and I think Trevor Lawrence has the possibility of joining that tier. Trevor Lawrence is really good. Really good. Let's see. MVP should go to someone with a less talented team. Hurts is overrated. I don't want to call him overrated. He's playing really well, but I don't think he's in the conversation with those quarterbacks. Bazooka's writing L. I don't know why he's writing L. Can't prove it, but I think Dable lost the team for a few weeks after he chose to use Adoree on punt returns. Before that, anything. I don't think he lost the team. I just think we ran into hot teams, right? Who did we lose to? We lost to the Lions, who were super hot, and we ran into another really hot team, right? We lost to the Lions and the Cowboys. Much better team, the Cowboys, right? And then we lost to the Eagles. Jersey, thank you very much, man. I have a scenario for you. We lose our next two. Eagles lose their next two. It could come down to the playoffs, us kicking them out of the first seed for the playoffs. It's possible. I'm going to tell you what, Justin. If we lose to the Colts, we don't belong in the playoffs. We're at home for that game. Their season is over. They have nothing to play for. I don't underestimate anybody, but if we don't beat the Colts, we don't deserve to make the playoffs. Obviously, I think we could lose this week. Vikings are a good team. We're on the road, but we should beat the Colts. MY Giants 26 says Jordan Addison reminds me of Judy Wonnum. I like Judy a lot. I know a lot of Giants fans poo-pooed Judy because of his drops. Jerry Judy is an elite route runner. I'm a fan of Judy. That's a guy I wouldn't be opposed to trading for if the opportunity presented itself in the offseason. I don't know if it would. Yeah, Colts is a must win. I mean, if we win this week, whatever, we're in. But if we lose to Minnesota, we have to beat the Colts. If we don't beat the Colts, we don't belong in the playoffs. Exactly. That's what I just said. If we win this week, the different story. Whatever. But if that is a must-win game at home, you have no business losing to Jeff Saturday. No business losing to Jeff Saturday. And I know the Colts looked good against the Vikings last week for the first half. You should beat the Colts. And Tommy, man, what's going on, man? Watching Zach Wilson made me appreciate DJ more. Zach Wilson stinks. Watching primetime football makes me appreciate Daniel Jones more. Because, Tommy, and maybe other fans don't feel this way when they watch the games, there's a lot of primetime games when I watch, I say to myself, we have a better quarterback than them. There is a lot. Like, I've watched a lot of Thursday night games this year and said, yeah, Daniel Jones is better than both these quarterbacks. When you look around the league, he's a good quarterback. I'm not going to use the term great. He's a good quarterback. And MY Giants 26 says, we need to blitz our 4 and get home to stop. I don't want to blitz. I mean, you got to blitz at certain points, but I don't want to be overly aggressive in this game. Got to get home with the 4. We need 7 guys in coverage going up against this Minnesota team more often than not. I don't want to blitz. I don't want to be overly aggressive this week. Plus, you're going up against the veteran quarterback. It's not like you're going up against, a rookie or a guy in a new system. You're going up against Kirk Cousins, who's been playing on the Vikings now for, 4 or 5 years? No. Play back and try to get pressure with your 4 pass rushers. Could I see Roquan Smith? I suppose it's possible. I don't know what his market would be. DJ's like Sims, a late bloomer. He's only getting better. I think DJ's going to get better next year. I don't know what his peak's going to be, but I think he's going to be better next year. I do. Jeremy says, what wide receivers do you see us potentially going after in the offseason? I'm assuming you mean via trade, because there's not a lot of good free agent wide receivers. Listen, it's going to – I just mentioned one. Judy's a possibility, right? There's a lot of guys I could potentially see. Like, let me look at the standings. Like, the Bucs, I think, could be in sell mode, right, if they lose Brady. So at that point, you're looking at guys that are a little bit older. I don't know how old Mike Evans is, but I don't know his contract. I'm not looking at it. But guys like Evans and Godwin, those are possible guys that I could see the Bucs trading if Brady retires or leaves for another team. DJ Moore is a name people have mentioned from the Panthers. Whether or not he'll be available, I don't know. DK Metcalf's an interesting name. DeAndre Hopkins with Arizona is an interesting possibility. I don't see anybody in the North. Nobody from within our division. Judy's a possibility with the Broncos. There were rumors that they were shopping him for the right price. I don't see anybody on the Raiders. I don't think that they're going to give up on Adams after 1 year. Plus, his contract is insane. I don't see anybody on the Chargers. I don't think they need receivers. They're not going to trade him. Chiefs, no. Brandon Cooks, again, older, but possible. Pittman, maybe, if the culture, resetting the franchise, possible. Young, talented. Jaguars, they're not going to trade anybody. They got a young quarterback. Titans don't really have anybody to trade at this point. Steelers, doubtful. Doubtful, especially after they just traded Claypool. Cleveland, no, they're not going to trade anybody. Ravens, they got nobody to trade. I personally don't think Higgins is going to be traded, but people bring him up from Cincinnati. I don't think the Jets are going to trade anybody. Patriots don't have anybody to trade. Their best wide receiver is a free agent. Dolphins not going to trade anybody, and the Bills not going to trade anybody. So I mentioned about 7 or 8 guys. Pittman, Higgins that people bring up. I don't think it's very realistic, but you could throw him in there. Cooks, Judy, DK Metcalf, Hopkins, DeAndre Hopkins, the 2 guys on Tampa Bay, Evans, Godwin, and more on Carolina. I could see those guys being potential trade possibilities. I just mentioned 9 guys. So I could see some of those guys being possible trade possibilities. Let's see. Well, Hardman's a free agent. Chris, would you be happy with a wide receiver core of Juju/Hardman, either Wandell or Najigba? I mean, it's a step in the right direction. I don't think it's a finished core at that point, but I think it's definitely trending towards the right direction. I don't think you're going to be able to rebuild this wide receiver core in 1 year. I think you would still need another wide receiver on top of that the following year. But it would be a big step in the right direction. And MY Giants 26, thank you, says DK would be amazing, hasn't peaked yet. Oh, DK is really good. I don't know if he'll be available, but those are some names. Some of those guys will be available for the right price. I just don't know if the Giants are going to be willing to give up whatever the market is. I don't see Amon-Ra St. Brown being traded. He's young, he's talented. The Lions are trying to compete. Deontay Johnson's pretty good. He's all right. I know he's regressed a bit this year, but Kenny Pickett's his quarterback. I'll tell you a wide receiver, and maybe it's just when the Cowboys play us because I don't get to watch these teams every week. But and he's not available. But every time I watch the Cowboys, and maybe I'm impressed with him because he's not the most talked about player on the team because CeeDee Lamb is. Michael Gallup is a really good wide receiver. Like, even give me a guy like that. Like, every time we play the Cowboys, I see Michael Gallup just snatching balls out of our corners' hands. That's what we need. We need a guy that could grab it, snatch it, go back and make the play. Like, you think back to that play last week with Darius Slayton. He didn't come back and grab the ball. Like, we need a wide receiver with instincts like that. He's not an elite receiver, but give me a receiver like that. So, that's just the name I was thinking about because whenever we play the Cowboys, I'm always impressed with him. How about Courtland Sutton? I don't know if he'd become available with the Broncos. Yeah, Gallup was killing us, man. He was making so many contested catches. We're not going to get him, Sports Influence. So they signed him to an extension, and they would never trade him to the Giants. But to me, he's not really like Galladay to me though. When I watch him, he's maybe, but he impresses me. Whenever we play the Cowboys, I'm impressed with him. Hot take: Brady leaves the Bucs and they trade Godwin. I think that's possible. That's why I mentioned the Bucs. I think Godwin and Evans are possibilities. Now, let me look at their contracts. I don't know their age. Like Evans isn't young, right? Evans is probably approaching 30, isn't he? Let me see. Evans is how old is he? Oh yeah, he's going to be 30 next year. So, and right now he's under contract through 2023, but he's got void years. So, I don't know. Godwin, let me see what his contract is. 3 years, $60 million he signed. When did he sign it? I think he's a bit younger too, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's under contract next year. And how old is he? He is 26, so he's a bit younger. So Godwin may make more sense if they were to trade for one of those guys. But I don't know what the price would be. Let's see. Bringing Antonio Brown? Nah. I'm good on Antonio Brown. I don't get the fixation with Antonio. Antonio Brown's a psychopath. I want nothing to do with Antonio Brown. I can't stay, but I'm a big fan. Keep doing what you do. I appreciate that, Gavin, man. Thanks for popping in. Some guy on Total Access NFL Network said, if you could pick up Danny Jones for fantasy football, do it. Well, he could run. So I actually had him on my fantasy team this year. I'm in a 2-quarterback league. I started him this year. But guys, it is 11:45. I went live for a while, but I don't do these as often anymore. So I hung out with Tommy, hung out with you guys. I'm gonna get some sleep because I gotta wake up early tomorrow and do some last minute Christmas shopping. And then I'll be live on here on this channel at 12:30 for the game. If I don't see you, if you don't pop into the stream, have a Merry Christmas, have a happy holiday, whatever you celebrate. And Giants are going to win tomorrow, 26-24. But thank you guys for all the support that you guys always show. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that good stuff. But let's get a win tomorrow, Giants fans. Have a good night.